Welcome to the Valorant First Strike Qualifiers. Myself and Dust will be bringing you both best of threes of today, and it will be a long journey for these teams taking part. But every journey does starts with a single step, and that's what we're here to cover today.
Oh, absolutely, man. And what's great about this is no one gets any freebies, Vince. There might be a couple of buys in the bracket due to seeding, but everyone has to participate in these open qualifiers and kickstart that process to qualifying for the first Riot Run event, which is First Strike, which is kind of what everyone's really been waiting for, to take that next step, to have that next level of prestige to an event that everyone gets to compete for. And this should be an absolute blast, and I'm glad that we have the opportunity to bring it to the people out there, Vince.
Oh, I'm so excited for this, Dust. Like, we've been chomping at the bit to get involved in these games, and finally we are here. And we get to witness a little bit of history at the same time. 100 Thieves. They've been baiting this. They've been around the block a few times. It's a org that, let's be honest, we both know pretty damn well. We've casted them a lot in the past. But now we get to see them dip their toe into Valorant, and we get to see this 5-man stack and what they really have to bring to the table.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool history of Valorant because of how many people are coming from different backgrounds to kind of form this community, whether it be Counter-Strike or Overwatch or even PUBG in some cases and other FPSs across the PC circuit. You've seen players come out from all sorts of communities to build this new foundation that we're seeing here in Valorant. And again, it all starts with these First Strike qualifiers, and we can kind of start taking a look at how things are going to work out here, Vince. I think we're going to kick things off by just taking a look at the schedule to kind of let people know what to expect over these next 5 days. We are in the open qualifier. We are starting in the round of 128. We're going to be doing 2 rounds apiece for the first couple of days. And then, as you can see, we'll have the last 3 days be the round of 8, the round of 4, and the grand finals. The times are going to be the same each day, as you see at that specific standard time. And also, there's going to be a lot of community streams going on, covering some of the other matches that are not featured here on the mainstream. So there are plenty of ways that you can catch all the action in these First Strike qualifiers. As again, this is very exciting times for the Valorant community.
It most certainly is. Now, of course, they're playing for a reason, Dust. There is plenty on the line, and we will be jumping into the next graphic just to give you guys an idea as to what exactly they're playing for. So, format breakdown: 128 team tournament, all matches best of 3, single elimination bracket. As we kind of touched on just before, there will be no freebies. You have got to work your way up towards that qualifier spot. And there's going to be a lot of slips and twists and turns. The top 16 gain entry to the closed qualifiers, and that is between November 4th and 8th. So hopefully that just goes a little bit to nullifying any of those concerns or curiosities, or maybe even a little bit of doubts as to what could be coming up. So top 16 is what they're jockeying for, Dust, and a lot of teams will be vying for those positions.
Absolutely, and considering this is a single elimination bracket and there's starting with a round of 128, as you said, there could be a lot of little curveballs that get thrown in that could really mess teams up. Maybe some of your favorites don't even make it to the closed qualifier this time around, so there's definitely a lot on the line, a lot of pressure. At least it's best of 3, so you should get a chance to put your best foot forward as far as getting a map that you're comfortable with, and in case you do slip up on your first map, you still have a safety net of that map number 2 to force a third, and you know, play the game the way it's meant to be played, you know, right now, which is trying to have that competitive integrity boosted up to the max by having best of 3s. And so it should be a heck of a lot of fun, Vince. And speaking of a heck of a lot of fun, we get to kick things off, I think, in a way that everyone's going to be excited about. It's going to be the debut of 100 Thieves. Of course, not as an organization in Valorant. They've had a team in the past, but that team often struggled. But this team looks like a behemoth now. They have kept Kiko, one of the OGs of the team, on board, but they have brought in a slew of new talent. They have brought Asuna and Dicey over from Immortals, often considered one of the top 5 teams in the region, had several third-place finishes, matches, had a couple of big, prize pool grabs at different times with that team. And those two guys are considered like the young kind of star players coming into this team. Obviously lots of talent between those two. Asuna, a very powerful duelist on agents like Raze, Phoenix, and Reyna coming in. And then you have Dicey, of course, that perennial jet opper that can definitely do a lot of great things. And then they've brought in Nitro, the former in-game leader of Team Liquid, one of the best CSGO teams of all time, certainly the best North America's ever had to offer in that community. So it'll be cool to see Nitro making his debut into Valorant. And then the same could be said for Steel, a guy who has been around the block in the Counter-Strike scene for a very long time, often regarded as one of the best in-game leaders we've ever produced in our region and various versions of Counter-Strike. Obviously, he's not the main IGL for this team, but I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about their strategy. He'll be coming in. I believe he's going to be playing a lot of Killjoy, from what I understand. That seems to be the agent he wants to go with. And then the rest is kind of up for grab, Vince. I'm not really sure what to expect from 100 Thieves. I mean, I kind of know that Asuna is kind of one of those diverse, duelist players that definitely can be a star. Hiko has had a history of playing agents like Omen and Raze, but also has played some Sova. So I'm kind of curious to see how he shifts around. From what I understand, Nitro is supposed to be coming in as their main Omen player from some of the content and interviews that they've done coming into this. But it really is a mystery to me exactly how this team will work. Steel's been talking a big game, Vince, about wanting to kind of reinvent some of the meta and bring some new ideas to the table and kind of break up some of the staleness that we've seen tactically. So we'll have to see if they can bring that out here in this qualifier against a Hot Thoughts team that I'm not that familiar with, if I'm honest, Vince.
No, same. I think there'll be a lot of people out there right now that don't know too much about this. It's a great name, but don't really know much about the players. Yeah, there was a bit of a back and forth as to who would be IGLing as well for 100 Thieves, because I heard that at one point it was supposed to be Nitro, and then Steel kind of took over a little bit, and then maybe it's gone back to Nitro. So you did touch on this yourself. Steel, no slouch when it comes to IGLing. This guy has built teams up from nothing into real powerhouse squads. And he's very good with the youth kind of players as well. So he offers a lot in this roster. Whether he's IGL or not entirely sure, but I'm sure we'll find out very shortly.
I think that's a really good point to make. I think for me, Steel, if you do not know him very well from his background in Counter-Strike, as Vince already kind of alluded to, definitely always really good at scouting new talent and helping develop younger players and teach them the fundamentals. And another big thing he's always been known for is kind of going against the grain. He's always been a guy that likes to test new things, try to develop new strategies, try to break the meta. It's something he's done throughout his entire CS career, whether it was coming up with like new flashbangs or new smoke setups. Obviously, there's certain bounds you work in within Counter-Strike, but now that's wide open in a game like Valorant, where you can test new compositions, new agents, come up with map-specific gimmicks, different things like that. I would expect this 100 Thieves team to come out with a lot of, nifty set pieces and try to see them maybe even play some new agents that don't get played that often within the North American meta. For instance, Killjoy has only recently become an option. A lot of people would just prefer playing Cypher. And I know that Steel has made it very clear that he intends to play a lot of Killjoy. So that'll be interesting to see, as it seems like an agent that you don't see that often except for maybe a couple specific maps. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what this 100 Thieves team brings to the table. Although I'm sure they're going to hide some stuff, Vince, if we're being honest. I don't think they want to show their hand too early.
No, true. I mean, there's a lot of games to go, right? So you don't want to just drop all of the tactics straight away. And against a team that not many people will know about, I'm not sure if they know anything about either. Maybe they will keep a few aces up their sleeves and see how things go. But I can get into some of the picks and the bans right now, of course, on the maps. First ban out was Split. That was from 100 Thieves. And Hot Thoughts came straight in with a Haven pick with 100 Thieves on defense. Then Ascent was picked by 100 Thieves. Hot Thoughts starting on the defense, and then Bind, of course, will be our decider if we need it, with Hot Thoughts starting on the defense again.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about map picks and bans right now just because there's only 4 maps in the pool, so you're going to be playing 75% of the pool after you come out of the pick ban phase until Icebox comes in. That adds a 5th. That'll maybe make things a little bit more dynamic as far as what gets played and what gets picked and all that. So kind of hard to really read too much into it, especially because this is a brand new 100 Thieves team. So we don't really know what maps they favor, what maps they don't, as far as map win. Hints of brilliance, I should say. Let's see if they can just kind of roll it into something.
Well, they're running out of time in terms of this half. As a fault line does connect, but no follow-up damage is present.
Oh my.
Asuna already round the back. Oh my goodness, 100 Thoughts never stood a chance. It's the 3K for Asuna, who gets a quad. And that's
Man.
off the back of a buy. It's not as if he just rushed them down in an eco. He just destroyed them.
I think they've been doing a pretty good job about moving Asuna around. Like, he's doubled up a couple of times with Steel over on the A side. They probably play aggressively through that long A position, but this time around, they smoke up top middle, and they just kind of push him forward. And that's the first time they've really pushed him that deep. They challenged mid a couple of times with Dicey coming through C Garage at one point with an operator. There's been a couple other little plays from them that kind of had that, you know, same semblance, but that's the first time they've really taken it that far, and it really caught Hot Thoughts off guard there. Great little play from Asuna, absolutely shuts Hot Thoughts down, and now they're trying to go for something way heavier towards C Garage. The Lear comes in, they're trying to push the tempo up.
When it back has been cropped. Oh my goodness, that utility could not have been better placed. The paranoia into all the cleanup frags, and Asuna with the run it back just to look for information has found it. It's at the cost of 3 of Hot Thoughts. They only have Ozo and their breach still standing. Dicey about to put this to bed. A flawless round.
So embarrassing.
And only a couple to go, Dust. This has been a massacre.
Yeah, I think that voice line kind of summed it all up there. Some of the voice lines in this game are quite savage, and I think that was an apt one, though. Just got kind of embarrassed there, trying to, you know, make a little bit of something happen to C Garage. You know, it's good use of utility to get in the garage. The problem was the counter utility of 100 Thieves, which is so on point. They kind of bit their tongue and waited, and then Nitro sends in the paranoia, and they absolutely shut down attack before it can really get rolling. That's now twice that we've seen them try to test that C link, and they could just never really make it work. This is where 100 Thieves just seem to be in full force now. They're not relying on the retakes any longer, Vince. Now they're taking the action to Hot Thoughts. They're getting more comfortable. The confidence is brewing, and they're absolutely crushing them. Look at this push now through long C. Like, they're just not letting up.
Yeah, it's a Hunter's theory to basically just keep them at bay. Meanwhile, they're pushing 2 behind the back, as you said, one of which is the jet in the hands of Dicey, who has the operator. So he can push up in a really aggressive angle. This is valuable intel to the rest of his teammates, who now can stack over towards the A site that little bit heavier. And Hot Thoughts basically have no map control. They're only just starting to find their way out of middle towards the garage. But nothing's really forthcoming for them.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Dicey's holding this angle on long C is really kind of freeing up Omen to be able to assist that B when needed here, as Hiko is still the one kind of holding that down. Also, Phoenix has been allowed to drift over as well, as Steel has A on lock with this turret. Again, they can get into B vents, but what can they do with it? They need to be able to engage one of these link areas and be able to hold that, to hold off retakes, but they can't even make much progress. Hiko pitches in immediately with the quad kill with the Phantom, leaving Polar Bear all by his lonesome, and he is not long for this world, Vince. Nitro cleans him up easy there between the eyes with his own Phantom, and that's now 10-1 score to 100 Thieves. And these last few rounds, Vince, they haven't even been close. Early on, it felt like there was some hope. Hot Thoughts were, you know, getting some map control. They were getting some spike plants. They were threatening 100 Thieves a little bit here and there. But now it's just full-on domination.
Yeah, it almost felt like 100 Thieves were just taking the first few rounds to fully figure out what Hot Thoughts had up their sleeve.
Sure.
And now they've made the tweaks, they've made the adaptations, and the rest is history. We're seeing why they are the massive favorite to not just win this game, but go very far in these qualifiers.
That's the big hope of these roster changes, Vince. 100 Thieves, a big organization. They really sprung out for a couple of big names in Asuna and Dicey. They brought Nitro over from Counter-Strike, who is known as like a fragging in-game leader from the CSGO scene and a good mind for that game. Seems to be transferring it over nicely, at least in this match. But again, this was kind of just the first test and not even the big exam. This is just kind of a pop quiz. But so far, so good, as we are seeing the final round of the half come into fruition. Spike will get planted, but we're at even 4-on-4 for this retake.
4-on-4, Scoop goes in, gives them a chance. Empress popped again. Last time he instantly got operated by Dicey. Plenty of utility tossed towards Azuna, keeping him at bay in heaven, but he's still alive. And Hot Thoughts have got to respect that angle. Nitro in with the first headshot. The Empress has fallen again. And now Azuna is looking for that spray, gets fully blinded by the paranoia, but still standing, still alive, and not for the first time. An advantage starting to work against Hot Thoughts. The Blade Storm comes in again. Here comes Rolling Thunder. Dicey pushing through the Rolling Thunder into his demise, and now Nitro trying to stand tall, but Polar Bear is too big. At least it's Hot Thoughts getting a second, but even then it was super close.
It was close. Dicey was maybe about a half second away from having his tailwind work for him and actually beat the timing on that popping and having an actual chance to get in there and make that retake actually work. And the 2-on-2 was very, very closely timed there. But yeah, as you said, Hot Thoughts will at least fit one more in before it's all said and done. But that, I mean, on a map where I feel like attacking is a little bit easier compared to some of the others, only being able to find 2 rounds in attack, that really doesn't do you a whole lot of favor, especially if you wind up losing pistol. I feel like it could be over pretty quick at that point. We'll see what they can do, though.
Yeah, this certainly does feel like it has an air of GG about it, but maybe their defense is somewhat phenomenal. Early on, Recon Bolt connects, but has instantly been shot down by Hiko, so no intel will be forthcoming. Meanwhile, 100 Thieves pushing in through Garage, already carving out a path with the Ghost of Azuna. Ozo falls, as does KDS. Perfect utility again. Just so much smokes, flashes, blinds in the eyes of Hot Thoughts. And now with Reyna and Omen remaining, and a post-plant 2v5. Best of luck to them, Dust. I wish them all the best, but it's not happening, is it?
You know, Vince, you like to hold out a little bit of hope as best you can, and while Scoop, he's gotten himself one. There is some hope here, but it is the slimmest of it, isn't it? As it will be 11 rounds now to the good of 100 Thieves, coming out swinging here in this round of 128. Again, this is a best of 3, so at least one more might be played between these two teams, but so far, so good here from 100 Thieves, man. They've done everything you could have hoped for. Obviously, you still need to see them against some of the, top 5 teams in the region to really get your hopes up, but again, at least they're taking this match seriously. They're showing you some good coordination. You're at least learning what type of agents are probably going to get played and what type of comps they like to use. And we'll learn a little bit more about them in the next map as well. That's kind of what I took this as, like a learning opportunity. And I think maybe Hot Thoughts are looking at it the same way.
Well, the other devastating aspect and stat to bring you, this was the pick of Hot Thoughts. They wanted to go on Haven. And so far, it's not worked out too great for them. Killjoy in the hands of Steel, just behind the dark cover, has gone down, and now Scoop getting one, able to try and escape. I say that as he gets sprayed down in the back from the Phantom of Azuna. Paranoia tossed in, more dark cover on the site, blocking off some of these angles. Dicey perched up, waiting, anticipating the peak, and the peak comes in. Tony is eviscerated alongside Azuna, who holds on the spray transfer, holds on for dear life, keeps himself alive, but also puts 100 Thieves to 12-2 in the lead.
Indeed, it is now map point for 100 Thieves here. They have been flawless so far in the second half, and again, only dropped around here and there in the first half. It's been a pretty clean sweep from them. Hiko, Dicey, Asuna, all fragging real heavy here. Nitro right in the mix also. Steel hasn't really been required, and he definitely did his job anchoring that A side in the first half and buying up a lot of room for his team to rotate around him. So he's definitely kind of fulfilling the role that he was expected to, and this is last chance saloon here for Hot Thoughts. They will be on the full buy, looking to challenge out in middle, but it's an even trade thus far as Steel works his way up.
Fault line connecting to the left side of B, forcing away Breach, who will have to think twice about going back in again. Dark cover put down. Killjoy keeping it interesting on the side, keeping 2 of the remaining 4 players on Hot Thoughts over here. They cannot afford to move away. They have no idea. They have no intel, and Dicey wall-banging Polar Bear gives 100 Thieves the advantage again.
Indeed it does. There is a little bit of a flank going on, though, from Ozo. He might have a chance to kind of blow this up a little bit. They're not aware of him just yet. He finds one, but that is not the best weapon for spray transferring. He has to just kind of back off, but he bought time for KDS to slot in for as well. And now it's actually all on Nitro. 1v2 clutch situation. He does have Spike in his possession. He's got a good bit of time. He knows that Cypher's in this window room. He'll be able to find that out very quickly. He probably has a pretty good idea where KDS is playing, but it's all going to come down to timing as he is putting that smoke down, but KDS has already made forward progression past it. And there it is. Nitro just a little bit slow on the trigger finger there. KDS will keep his team afloat, at least for now, but they still have a long road to travel to threaten an overtime. But hey, one step in the right direction.
Absolutely. Step by step, brick by brick. They weren't expected to win, so Hot Thoughts now playing for a bit of pride.
Sure.
A bit of a chance to show the world what they're capable of doing. KDS had a very slow start, but he did pick up a kill or 2 in that last round, so he's up to 3 now, which is good to see. But it's been Dicey that's been one of the main players, and Hiko's really stood up as well on 17 frags.
Yeah, we've seen pretty much a well-oiled machine when it comes to 100 Thieves. Everyone's been popping off when they've needed to. So we do see them setting up a lot of their players, and C Cubby now using that ult to pop their way into the site. Great paranoia, takes Polar Bear off the board with the help of Asuna's Phantom. That's complete C-side control in his spike plant now for 100 Thieves.
Run it back successful, and now Azuna can rejoin the troops. Ozo waiting for the cavalry to arrive. What could be the final play of our Haven in our first best of 3. Steel Sheriff round the corner, taking the head of Tony V off instantly, and keeping pressure and presence down on Garage and middle. This forces KDS's hand to go through. Haunted Flurry is good enough for one, but now it's going to be a couple more running into the blender. And it's 100 Thieves coming out ahead, 13-3.
Yeah, I would be lying if I said I expected anything different than what we saw there without really knowing much about Hot Thoughts. You know that there was some proven talent on the 100 Thieves squad. The only real question would be, how well is their practice gone? How good is their coordination? You know, is the chemistry being built up nicely? And the other questions were, how does Hiko work around these new players coming in? I mean, obviously, he was a guy that was known to play some of the agents that Asuna and Dicey were coming to play, particularly Asuna, as they shared Raze as kind of a common agent. But we've seen, you know, Hiko here be able to go over to the Sova, you know, allow Asuna to play the agent that he's comfortable with. He got a slow start there, but then got rolling and did a great job. We saw the Killjoy out of Steel as was being kind of hinted at, and some of the different interviews and such have been going on in the community. So again, I feel like, at least for me as kind of an analyst in this scene, I got to learn a little bit about 100 Thieves kind of mindset on how they want to approach at least Haven, right? Now, granted, they didn't really have to turn the pages on the playbook, Vince. They were able to just kind of play a stout defense and then, you know, just play out a pretty standard attack. Didn't really see anything special, but it's not required yet. And I'm sure even if they have it, they don't want to show it just yet, which is kind of one of the other talking points. But all in all, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, we discussed this before, that the later it gets into the qualifiers, when they start playing against something like the NRGs and teams of that stature, maybe then we start to see some of the really intricate, spicy strats come into play. But I would say that's kind of par for the course of what I expected. I think, honestly, Hot Thoughts could probably come away from this thinking they could have won another 3 or 4 rounds, especially on that first half. They had a lot of post plants, a lot of spikes that were getting diffused in the last few seconds and amongst smokes, and it came down to like 2v2s, and it's just where the individual skill of 100 Thieves was slightly higher, but it's not like they were completely bodied.
Yeah, I mean, I think early on there were definitely some opportunities, but it did feel like once 100 Thieves started hitting the gas pedal, those rounds started coming a lot easier. It wasn't up to retakes anymore. It was just straight up, you know, dominating the whole map, you know, being able to push freely through the peripheries of the map without really any trouble. And then they started winning those rounds really clean, like only losing 1 or 2 players in the process. So it did feel like a bit of it, though, was also just 100 Thieves kind of easing into the game rather than taking the full plunge right off the rip. So a little bit of give and take on that, but at the end of the day, we got the dominant game that we were kind of expecting.
Yep, so that's going to do it from map number 1, ladies and gents. Stay tuned. After this break, we'll be getting straight back into it with our second map of our first best of 3. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our live coverage of the Valorant First Strike qualifiers. We had some questions, thus. We had some queries over to 100 Thieves, who were turning a lot of heads in their first game together in this iteration of the qualifiers. And I think they answered a lot of those questions, but we still have some more to go. Ascent is up next, and it was their choice of map.
Yeah, again, not a whole lot to go off of, as this is a brand new team, so don't really know, what their win rate is on something like an Ascent. Again, I don't know what their scrims have been going on, but obviously they must feel comfortable with it, as it is. It's going to be their first pick, so this first map that they want to play in a series, so that could tell you a little bit of something. Just kind of, again, curious to see what type of composition they're going to bring to the table. Seems like Hiko's picking up the Sova for this team, and this is obviously a map where Sova can definitely still get a ton of use, both on the attacking and defending side. This is a map that generally Asuna has played a ton of Phoenix on Ascent. Very high percent pick for him to play Phoenix. We obviously already saw him play Phoenix on Haven. Generally, he does play some Raze and Reyna, but that's usually on a map like Split or Bind where he picks up the Raze. So again, I would expect to see the Phoenix come out from Asuna again. Seems like Nitro is going to be playing the Omen, which is very key to have on a map like Ascent that's very mid-control oriented, and those smokes are very vital to have on the attacking side to establish that. And then, yeah, Steel obviously probably going to play the Killjoy again. Don't see why he wouldn't. Don't see why Dicey wouldn't continue to play Jet. So I expect we'll see a lot of the same that we saw on Haven as far as composition. But yeah, curious to see what their strategy is going to be. Because again, it seems like Ascent is very much either B burst or mid control. Like that seems to be kind of the two typical approaches to the map. Obviously, you'll see some A plays mixed in, but B burst are very powerful. And, mid control obviously can gain you a lot, whether that's, approaching pizza and threatening the market area for splits on the B side, whether that be taking control of tree and then, threatening splits on the opposite side. There's definitely a lot of that can go. A lot of people compare Ascent to like Mirage from Counter-Strike for that reason, where like mid and cat and stuff, like the structure, but it looks very similar to that map from Counter-Strike. Definitely, I'd imagine with Volcano working on this game and being a former Counter-Strike player, he's taken some, inspiration from some of the CSGO stuff and previous versions of Counter-Strike at that. So yeah, we'll just have to see. Again, we're hopefully using this as a way to learn more about 100 Thieves. And for Hot Thoughts, that game, they had some good ideas. Like, they had some good takes. They seemed to be pretty coordinated. It's just they were struggling in post plants and struggling in straight up aim duels. And they had a couple of little blunders here and there where it was like self-inflicted utility as far as like stuns and stuff with their breach. So if they can clean up some of that, they might be able to at least have a closer run on this map, I'd imagine.
Yeah, as I said at the end of the first map, on another day, if they were a little bit more clinical, we could have been looking at 4 or 5 extra rounds. And that may seem like an excessive amount, honestly, but when you think of the economy situation as well, it has a reverberating effect. Going into the second and the third round, they could have won those. Those were winnable rounds, especially the third one. And now they start off on the defensive side. So Hot Thoughts, they're going to have to be able to convert a little bit better. They only got 2 rounds in the first half over on our first map of Haven. So if they're not able to make the most of those opportunities, I do fear that we're going to have a bit of a repeat performance on our second map.
Yeah, again, I'll be curious to see how they play their defensive side. Obviously, something like Cypher can be very popular on anchoring the A side. Sova, recon darting, the B lobby is going to be very popular with like Odin spams, things of that nature through the walls. A lot of teams be able to implement that. And again, defensively, I'm also kind of curious to see how they work with middle, because it feels like a lot of teams just kind of give it up. A lot of teams will just kind of allow teams to walk up catwalk pretty much uncontested. They won't really worry too much about it until market and pizza really actually are under threat. A lot of teams kind of just focus more on kind of B lobby aggression, maybe getting some intel and just denying, space over on like kind of the wine area of the A side of the map and just kind of doubling up on tree and kind of defending it from that perspective. But I definitely think there are options to be aggressive defensively on this map, whether it's like smoking off B link and engaging top middle, or whether it's smoking off top middle and trying to pinch B through link and through lobby. I think there's some options, and I would be curious to see if Hot Thoughts have the temperament to go for that against a situation where that you're the underdog. Maybe you try to disrupt them a little bit, try to have a little bit of confidence against 100 Thieves and not let them settle into their attacking side so easily with like free map control. So that'll be kind of what I'm hoping to see. Maybe see Hot Thoughts throw out not necessarily a gimmick, but maybe just something a bit more assertive and a bit less standard to try to catch 100 Thieves off guard a bit.
Yeah, I think when you are the massive underdogs coming into a game, the pressure is off to a degree. If you end up getting smashed 2-0, everyone expected it anyway. It's not like you're going to hang your head in shame or be embarrassed about that mark. Whereas if you're 100 Thieves and you even drop a map, if a map even gets close, there will be questions, there will be memes, there will be ridicule. So that may factor into a tiny bit, especially if Hot Thoughts can get off to a really good start, convert some of those early chances. They're on the defensive side. They can try and keep the economy of 100 Thieves down and in the dumps, and maybe there is a way forward for them. But I think in terms of predictions, you and I are probably on the same page, still expecting 100 Thieves to come out pretty convincingly come the end of this best of 3.
You see, they're making a pretty big assumption there, Vince. I mean, you know, I could always take a pick the other direction. You never quite know.
Go on then.
Nah, that ain't happening though, is it?
Bluff call.
Bluff call, of course. You've gotten me. You've absolutely nailed me dead to rights there, Vince. As we definitely appreciate all of you for coming in and tuning in. We've had a lot of support on the stream, actually. I imagine a lot of 100 Thieves fans are in here. Obviously, there's a lot of curiosity about this new lineup. Obviously, a lot of those guys are big personalities, big streamers, and obviously guys who have massive histories, particularly in the Counter-Strike community. So really cool to see a lot of people coming out. And obviously, you know, even if this is just the beginnings of the first strike qualification process, it's still a very exciting time for Valorant to see kind of that first step of Riot, you know, having direct competition in the game. We've had a lot of good third-party tournaments over the course of 2020 in all regions, and Nerd Street, of course, always being kind of a part of that tradition with some of the different invitationals that they've run. But yeah, we've had a lot of people come in because this is, you know, the big thing that everyone's looking forward to. Obviously, people are also looking forward to Sky coming into the game and Icebox coming in and how that'll throw a wrench in things into the meta and how teams perform. But for right now, it's all about just kind of taking those first steps towards what should be a very prestigious event for Valorant here in 2020. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to continuing on, Vince. Roll that beautiful bean footage. Let's get some more games going.
No, I'm completely alongside you, man. We've been waiting a long time to get casting in some Valorant. You know, we've really been looking forward to this game. We've been playing it since day one, so much, grinding it super hard. So to actually be sat here and able to cast feels really privileged, and I'm really grateful to have the opportunity. And I'm just looking forward to more awesome action as this tournament progresses. Obviously, we have another best of 3 after this. It will be NRG versus to be decided. We need to figure out who that's going to be, obviously, depending on how the brackets come down into play. That could also be the team name. That would be definitely wild. Be a slip and a slide, wouldn't it? That would be quite the mind screw. But obviously, first we need to get done with our first best of 3, and Hot Thoughts coming back into this game, hopefully to take us to a third. But again, not going to hold my breath for that one. We are just waiting at the moment for the players to get ready, and well,
I mean, the worst that could happen if you held your breath is you would pass out. I mean, it's not as if you would have any permanent damage. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that necessarily.
That sounds pretty bad. I still wouldn't want to pass out.
I mean, fair enough. You do have a broadcast. Yeah, I mean, you have a broadcast you have to do that you've signed a contract for, and, you know, all that good stuff. You do have responsibilities, so passing out probably would not be a very smart decision financially or otherwise. So, yeah, you know, I'll just let you know that, like, you're not going to, like, ruin your whole life with it.
All right, well, I think we're getting close, Dust. We're getting close. On that bombshell, we can just seamlessly traverse into our second map, which will be Ascent. Obviously not the newest map in the pool, but competitively speaking, I guess you could say. And it is... I actually really like this map. I've got to say, it's definitely my top 2. I would say Bind is probably my favorite, and then it's Ascent.
I'm sure that will be nothing controversial in response from the community about those opinions. But hey, that's what makes it fun. We get to all have our things. We get to be bold, go out there. But yes, now we do get to see some Ascent action. It will indeed be 100 Thieves on the attacking side. And it is the exact comp I expected, other than Asuna taking up Reyna. He has been playing it a little bit recently. I would say he plays it about maybe a third of the time that he's played Ascent, he's played Reyna, because usually it's Phoenix like 66% or so. So it's not too crazy, but, you know, it's a little bit different.
Cage triggered.
Down goes the utility. 100 Thieves trying to move into action, springing towards their adversaries. And Asuna already taking control. Market locked down. Stabbing and crashing down. Axing through the door. But it will be post-plant. The spike already planted. And our Hot Thoughts need to get up close and personal with these classics, with these pistols. And make a real go at this. Now the utility really starts to drive in. Hot hand throws down, trying to cordon off areas. The dark cover's also been put into play. Dicey up close. Really, Ghost is just shredding through heads. And Hiko puts the final nail in the coffin. I thought that was going to be super chaotic with Hot Thoughts getting close, but that was absolutely wrong.
Yeah, the door was well and truly slammed in their face. literally and figuratively in that round, as they will go ahead and suffer a loss early here. We are going to see Steel setting up his turret outside of B to kind of cover their flank side. They might be focusing a little bit more on mid control this time around, but they will leave Reyna kind of in that direction. It'll be Asuna, of course, on that agent. It's going to be a triple B play here on the eco from Hot Thoughts, so we could see some aggression here. Could see something interesting. Trying to use Breach's fault line to try to get a little bit aggro here. The Reyna is going to be there. Turret is shut down, but again, Asuna is in position. We'll be able to handle this no problem. Get some assistance as well from Nitro.
All the heals alongside 100 Thieves have Nitro coming in. Insta headshot onto KDS, and now only 2 remain. Hot Thoughts backs against the wall. The B site again is the one being aggressed on for the most part, but also do have Killjoy with Steel moving over onto A, just making sure this area of the map is completely clear. Leah tossed out from Asuna. Polar Bear hearing bullets whizzing past his head and now spots Asuna, who comes in for a 3K. He was pretty slow to start with Phoenix in the first map, so it's good to see him posting up big numbers already.
Yeah, again, Reyna's kind of been slowly coming into the meta. I mean, obviously, Scream made it very popular in the European scene. Tens was someone who adopted it pretty early on for Cloud9 in the NA region, but you're seeing more and more Reyna kind of come into the fold, and obviously a very powerful agent, especially if you can get rolling. If you can get frags, you can do so much with the invulnerability to gain information, kind of play one-and-done spots, but not for you because you're able to invulnerable your way out of it. So definitely, in combination with the Leers, can definitely really take a lot of space and be kind of a snowball-y type character once they get going.
The quintessential pub stomp agent for sure, but I have to see if we can get rolling. As you said, that snowball though is certainly picking up pace, and Hot Thoughts into the round do have themselves some weapons. Phantom in the hands of Ozzo, and KDS also able to pick up the rifle for himself. Asuna, a lot of map control already moving in towards the B side again, taking middle control. This is something you talked about before, Dust. A lot of teams will give this entire angle up.
And there's a bit more of a smoke being used here by Hot Thoughts rather, to kind of try to deny at least access to market area, at least for now though. But that's a great shock dart. It's going to damage Polar Bear. It's going to put the pressure on him. He's calling for a rotation. Hiko and company continuing to keep that pressure on. Now a recon bolt comes in. They're trying to do a bit of a pinch on market here. Even Asuna coming into the lobby. He has been halted, at least, from that ramp position from KDS. But Nitro still does hold that forward positioning here. He's not quite the pizza just yet, but at least he does hold some territory, setting up a great paranoia that will be used to try to take control of this tree position, as a lot of his team is setting up outside this A side. There it comes. It won't quite hit the mark. Scoob with a nice little counter flash. Not quite going to land the mark, however, but he is buying a little bit more time for a rotation. He's getting some assistance now as well.
Time running dry, 12 seconds. 100 Thieves need to get in. Asuna able to heal up from that low HP before, and then goes in for a second. They still get to get the plant down, but they're putting it in amongst the smokes. And Hiko goes in onto Tony. 2 kills came back in the blink of an eye. It all falls to Polar Bear on Breach. We'll be throwing in the fault line. Dewey's really nothing apart from alert the entirety of 100 Thieves to his presence, and they do pick up a third, but they used each and every second allocated to them in that round.
It was methodical, though. I mean, they did a great job of pressuring that market and never really allowing Hot Thoughts to kind of know if it was going to be a B split or not, so they couldn't really rotate. And that was a great little paranoia from Nitro to kind of help set up that take on that tree position. And while they were able to get a bit of a rotation in to defend against that kind of, short A attack, I guess you could say, Asuna, on that Reyna, able to just chain off a couple of kills and heals to really kind of clear the way. And so a pretty dominant round, though it was, like you said, a little bit pressure because of the clock. Still got the job done. And now we see some aggression on the share of eco here from the Hot Thoughts. They do get into a lobby, but they are just getting absolutely rinsed. As Steel picks up a couple there with the Vandal.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah, pretty brutal. Moving along to A main, but may not even be required because the entirety of Hot Thoughts have been dispatched with haste. They've been evaporated. Quick fire 4-0. What we expected, Dust, but
sure,
a little bit more one-sided than the start of our previous map over on Haven.
Yeah, 3 guys yet to find a frag here on the Hot Thoughts. I'm kind of curious to see what they'll go for again. That Sova Recon Bolts wall spam combination can be used a bit towards B. Breach obviously has a lot of utility of flashes to set up aggressive type plays. Looks like he is setting up a fault line to perhaps go towards B Link and Omen there with the smoke. So they're setting up for a lot of mid aggression here, actually, Vince. This could be really dicey very early.
A-Main again being pressured on. Tony at least gets the first kill, only the 5th as we move into round 5. But Dicey straight back using the smoke. The dark cover of Omen against him. Scoob already deciding, screw this, I'm just going to rush straight round the back and see if I can make something special happen with my teammate pushed up on the heaven area. But they've already lost control over the site. That much has already been established. Now the spike gets planted. And Hot Thoughts in a position where they're all clumped together at the top of the site. Owl Drone will be spotting a couple of them. Steel waits, big headshot, but a great paranoia tossed in return. Shock Dart on top of it will see Scoob off and keep the remainder of 100 Thoughts. Oh, pardon me.
That's a lot of thoughts, Vince. Maybe too many thoughts. Yeah.
They need all 100 of them right now to take this side because they are being obliterated. And it's Hiko with a 4K. Yeah, they could do with 100 Thoughts right about now. They're getting wrecked.
I guess that's one way to look at it, Vince. I mean, I'm not sure what type of, evening you're trying to have, but, I mean, to each their own, man. But 100 Thieves are having their way with the server. I can tell you that much. I like the idea from Hot Thoughts, like going for that mid aggression. We talked about that even before the game, that there are options for Omen to smoke off top, middle. You can use breach flashes and fault lines to pressure off of the catwalk and take duels at mid. The problem is they didn't really get that much from it. In fact, Dicey was able to play around the smoke and catch a kill on an aggressor B Link, and that left A site vulnerable. In combination of the lockdown, 100 Thieves just really had their way with the site, and then good use of, Omen's utility as well as the drones that really kind of stopped that A Heaven retake in its tracks. And now Dicey here with the operator is going to pick up on that A aggression. Steel with the follow-up, so bodies are hitting the floor well and truly here from the Hot Thoughts.
Now 100 Thieves moving into position. Drone out to try and find some info. There's a chance for a brief moment the Polar Bear could maybe thread the Sheriff one tap, but instead it will be a flawless clean sweep round. 100 Thieves mixing it up, simultaneously just taking the entire map and making it theirs.
Well, now finally another chance for Hot Thoughts to put their best foot forward onto a full buy. Not going to have an operator, not even using the jet, obviously, on their side. Though there are still some other agents that can put the operator to use, and despite its nerfs, it could still be pretty useful defensively, but can't really spring for it, obviously, with that new high price of 5k credits. Not really going to lend itself when you're getting pummeled this much, even on the max loss bonus. Still not really wanting to do it. We are going to see again that B lobby aggression, though, Vince.
Thinking about it, some decently placed utility, though, over on Hot Thoughts with it. Shock Dart connecting Asuna. Gets Scoob, who's all alone. The Empress has been sprung into action again. Starting to see some kills come the way of Hot Thoughts, but it's short-lived. It's only one. Tony making the most of it. Keeping himself in amongst the smoke. Polar Bear is opting for a potential flashpoint out onto the side, but all of his teammates have died. This utility will fall on deaf ears. His teammates can't move in. He's all alone. He's surrounded. And let's be honest, he will be 6 foot under momentarily. Runs out into the open, and Steel dispatches him. The mercy is given.
Yeah, I actually thought that 100 Thieves were going to get thwarted a little bit there. I mean, the problem is, when you're going for this B burst plays, yes, they have the Omen smokes for market and spawn, which is kind of the foundation that you have to build your B attacks on, but a lot of other teams are running breach to have those rapid fire flashes to really kind of clear angles and push players off. Reyna's Leers are not as effective, which Asuna is playing. They can be shot down, and then you can kind of just retake the angle. And so I thought they were actually getting halted there. That is kind of one of the weaknesses of 100 Thieves comp when they're trying to go for those B bursts, is that lack of flashing with no Phoenix or breach, but still just off of skill alone, kind of able to really brute force their way through after that initial take didn't quite go as clean as maybe they were hoping for. And now KDS in a lot of trouble here with the Hunter's Fury coming out. Dicey using that to get in and get a couple of big entries, and this round's pretty much already by the wayside.
Yeah, slick take, the Hunter's Fury through the wall, and then they instantly pushed behind that with the aggression.
Spike planted.
through on the tunnels. And really, you can just scratch another round up to 100 Thieves. Really, Hot Thoughts have never seemed like they're remotely in this map.
No, not really. I mean, again, I thought there were some chances in the previous round based on 100 Thieves comp and how they were attacking B that maybe they could have shut it down before they were able to get the space in the site, but it was just to no avail. And this round, again, didn't really have the firepower to work with. They were trying to save up for this moment now. Again, they're on that max loss bonus. They took kind of a lighter buy there, so they should be able to afford whatever they want in this round. I am surprised we've never really seen like the Sova Odin play that can be oh so popular on the B side of the map. Again, we've yet to see an operator out of them as well. These definitely a lot of long lane picking opportunities on this map defensively that we haven't really seen them try to go for. So it does feel like, other than some of the mid aggression and B lobby aggression that they've tried, which again, I applaud them for that. At least they're trying to change things up. It just hasn't really been as effective as they were hoping. And so like if your aggro plays aren't working and your standard isn't working, you're kind of running out of options.
To put it in context as to how one-sided this has been, collectively, Hot Thoughts have 9 kills between their 5 players. 100 Thieves have 2 over 11 just alone. 1-for-1 trade, one of the best starts we've had. Actually, this is now the best start the Hot Thoughts have had. KDS goes in on Asuna. Some aggression behind a bit of utility has yielded the advantage, but they desperately need to start converting Dust.
Yeah, A is wide open, though. They're basically playing for a retake on the side. Again, they were really challenging that B lobby area with heavy numbers, which has left this side a little bit easier. The drone comes in to clear the tripwire, allows Dicey to come in there with the dash, clearing out the site and putting that spike down. But they will have a man advantage on this retake, and the Hunter's Fury does stall out the plant and tag the player.
It stalls it out, but there's still 50 seconds to go. It has allowed the rest of Hot Thoughts, though, to position themselves up on the Heaven area. Ozo taking point as Polar Bear comes in. Flashpoint out, doesn't affect anybody. But it's not a post plant. Although Steel and Hiko have survived. With 33 seconds, they still need to come back onto the site, hopping off the spy cam. Steel with the first, a 2v4 falls upon them. Vision being impaired as they look to disintegrate the defenders over on A. 20 seconds, and this is where the lack of flashes and the lack of utility will sting. I'm not sure 100 Thieves can get this one done. They need entries, and they need them right now. 12 seconds, there's another flashbang, perfectly timed, and Scoop behind it could fall into the eyes of Steel. Down he falls. He did get a beautiful Sheriff one-tap onto KDS, which is going to hurt their economy, but they have got their first round.
Yeah, I feel like they got stalled out for so long because they were convinced that someone was still behind a double stack box in Heaven, so they kept trying to spam it. They never actually got the vision that that player had actually departed that position, so I feel like they wasted a lot of time banking that they would get that frag, and it would give them a kind of a 2v3 take onto the site. And it just never really came to fruition. They didn't, again, catch that player rotate out of that spot. So, yeah, Hot Thoughts finally able to put something together. Again, they got the better end of the trade on that B lobby aggression. They tried a couple of different times, but that time, in particular, they were able to be a little bit more efficient, and it led to a victory. As, again, they're trying to get a little bit aggro at middle once more with this double cap play, but the smoke has been put up by Nitro to deny that as he starts making some forward progress towards market position.
Even if the fault line had it connected, there wasn't really any follow-up in terms of players to crunch on top of the stunned and concussed players. Here comes the aftershock. Again, nothing really forthcoming. 100 Thieves already taking full middle control with 2 hiding in the marketplace. Killjoy in Steel now being a real pain in the backside, forcing Hot Thoughts to peek out, protrude around the corner. Nitro takes off the head of Polar Bear. And now Steel on only 34 HP, trying to make moves. Cloning deals with him and tries to go in for a second, taking tons of damage through the dark cover. And Scoop elsewhere is picking off players, so there is a chance that maybe Hot Thoughts can get their second.
Yeah, they've done a really good job adjusting to that lockdown, and while they had to lose control of market because of it, they were able to still entrench themselves on the site, and we haven't really been able to see 100 Thieves break through. Nitro does go good for one, but Ozo is really quick to respond, and he keeps that man advantage for his team here as Hiko and company using the shotgun try to clear out this backside. Scoop, though, steps out with the operator, leaving Nitro all by his lonesome here. He's being tagged up in the back. He's trying to use that smoke to try to push closer to that market position to get the 1v1 with the Cypher, but he's going to lose that duel, and that's a second in a row for the Hot Thoughts. And honestly, I think what that comes down to is, yeah, again, it's a good use of lockdown to ensure that you're controlling market and pizza position, but all the defenders have to do is just kind of play back towards spawn, play back towards back B, and they can still make sure the site is well and truly defended, and they just need to make sure they're not getting flanked through spawn. I don't know that that's as effective a use of a lockdown as 100 Thieves were hoping. it didn't really clear out the site, right? It just gave them that kind of mid space that they basically already had when Nitro took control of it earlier on. They just didn't really get much more progress from it, I guess is my point. I think Hot Thoughts did a great job responding to it.
Tony has been really impressive to me, but hold that thought for a second as we're going to get hot and heavy straight off the bat. Leah tossed in, run it back, also depletes. Bit of information was called, and I didn't hear a Rolling Thunder thrown in amongst all of that as well. Seemed like a lot of utility and some ults were tossed into the mixes. Hot Thoughts trying to establish dominance outside of the A site. They do have the first pick, but now Steel coming in. Scoob takes him down. Headshot with the operator. Ozo Scoob goes in for another one. This is much better from Hot Thoughts. Now we're starting to see what these guys are capable of. They were eerily silent and suppressed to the early stages, but now they picked up 3 in a row.
Yeah, now Hot Thoughts are starting to get rolling. One more round left to go here to get things going. Interesting adjustments here from the Hot Thoughts. Again, I like the fact that they've never really let up, Vince. Like, they've been consistent with trying to push the issue, whether it be B-lobby aggression, fighting out in middle in the open, taking control of A lobby there, for instance, and just trading their hearts out. They're starting to show you some good stuff. Scoob and Tony, who were, you know, pretty solid fraggers in the first map, have been able to continue that forward here onto Ascent. As we get to the final round, 100 Thieves are looking to do something heavy-handed at A right off of the rip.
1-for-1 trade right off the bat, but it is Tony who feels like the main man on Hot Thoughts that has fallen alongside Steel. Now Asuna tries to pick up the mantle, going through on the catwalk area towards A again. We saw most of those early rounds mainly designated on B, but it seems that 100 Thieves have decided A is the side that they should be painting that bullseye on.
And Sova knows it now. Like, the enemy Hot Thoughts player is already droned outside B. He's able to call for his teammates to just go ahead and entrench themselves with their 3 players on A, and even Sova's now cheating through spawn. So they're going to be in great positions to deal with this attack, Vince. And that paranoia did not hit the mark. Polar Bear is still safe on Heaven.
Curveball being lined up, tossed in from Phoenix. They look for the retake, but Dicey and Nitro are there to greet them with their Vandal and Phantom. But now Polar Bear, he's had a bit of a slow start in this best of 3, but he's stepping up from the ruins of potentially a 2-0 loss. Shock Dart out. Nitro still standing with full HP, catching KDS out in the open. A one-on-one falls upon him. Flashpoint is good, masking the footsteps, but Nitro still holds his ground. He's no stranger to pressure, no stranger to clutches, and he comes out ahead one more time.
Yeah, and that just shows you the skill disparity there, I think, and the experience disparity playing competitive FPS. I think that Hot Thoughts did everything right. They used Sova's drone to essentially clear out B-side, allow them to get the early rotation. Polar Bear was in for a couple of good ones there, and they just couldn't win that against Nitro. They had a 2v1 there. They were retaking together properly. They had Breach's flashes still in their possession, and they just could not find a way to force Nitro into an actual 2v1. He was able to pick his duels there, and he won out in the end, and that's going to give it a 9-3 half to the 100 Thieves as we kind of take a look here at our Goat Puff replays to kind of show you some of the highlights of that half. Shout out to them sponsoring the event. Talk a little bit about more of them later as we get into our pistol of the second half to see if 100 Thieves can go ahead and quickly put the series to a close.
Oh, Scoob, that's a big headshot partially through the wall onto Nitro. It springs 100 Thieves out into action, but it's only Scoob coming up with another 2. He's picked up a 3K. Putting himself in the shop window and saying, look, well, this is what I can do. This has been a phenomenal pistol round from Scoob, who goes flawless. He picks up a 4K, 100 Thieves on the back foot.
Momentum coming in here from Hot Thoughts. Obviously, that is just the pistol of the second half, but it's a good start here for them as they'll be able to get the Ares, get some SMGs in flow as well. We are going to see the full force up back from 100 Thieves, though. Dicey's going to get onto the Marshall right away. We see upgraded pistols and armor coming out, as well as utility being purchased, so 100 Thieves are going all the way in on this round, Vince. They're looking to challenge as best they can. They're going to use Killjoy's utility to kind of just anchor A, and they're going to look to get aggressive off the catwalk, it appears.
They tried to get aggressive last round, didn't work out for them. Faultline followed in from a curveball, and now Scoob comes in with the first kill again. He's not slowing down anytime soon, but now he's been derailed by Hiko. Shock Dart out, tagging Polar Bear. Changes up his angles. Post plant falls into position as the spike goes down. And with 100 Thieves fully investing in this, being in a 3v4, I wonder if they do fully try to go in for this round, or if they keep their options available into the next. They have a vast lead. They don't need to rush into anything. They don't need to give these guns away.
No, I think that you just kind of roll this over into the next round and try it again, right? I mean, you basically just, you know, take your L here, maintain that Marshall, maintain some of the upgraded pistols, and just try to pose a threat in the next round. So they will have to concede this. The force didn't quite pay off. Again, that showed you the power of having the Phoenix flashes on those B burst type plays. Obviously, it was, you know, low firepower for 100 Thieves to defend with, but it can be so effective. But look at Nitro making this round expensive here. Gets all of them based off the spike explosion and his 2 share frags. That's a lot of rebuying Hot Thoughts have to do. And man, that is a little bit devastating considering how clean they won the round to have that happen at the end.
Bruh. It's going to cost them everything.
Yeah,
they have to go fully all in.
No. You do hate to see it. You really do. Unless you're a 100 Thieves fans. You love that then.
Maybe pick up 2 stingers.
Look at what it causes. It causes 100 Thieves to just say, we're going in. And I don't blame them. I think this is a great decision by them to just get heavy-handed with the rest of their credits and try to see if they can't really fully punish Hot Thoughts.
Run it back alongside the flashpoint. Curveball also tossed in. Plenty of utility disposed just to deal with Asuna's position, but they've done that in style. And again, keep in mind that 100 Thieves, they went all in on this round. They decided to pull the trigger. And now they may be pulling the plug on the life support machine that is their economy. They have to get out of here. Steel is up close. He's at least putting down some pressure and some damage. And with the frag onto Scoop, maybe they still come back in yet. A 3v4, all 3 of them are healthy. Meanwhile, Omen is feeling worse for wear. Ozo, at the back of the site, is anticipating that some nefarious means may be afoot, but Polar Bear holding it off. With a good fault line put into place, and it isolates both Hiko from the rest of his team, and he gets picked off. So the force buy, the aggression, does not work out for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, it's really just coming down to how well they're able to get Scoop into this B site and the duels he's taking against Asuna. Asuna's trying to counter with Leers and buy time for his teammates to set their flanks and rotations in, but the site takes themselves have just been a little bit too clean for 100 Thieves to truly handle. And now, as that did not work out with the heavy-handed buy of the Bulldogs trying to punish the economy of Hot Thoughts, they have to take a step back here with just the Sheriffs. And while those guns can be very potent, it really opens the door for Hot Thoughts to start really and truly closing the gap on the scoreboard and actually making this game very interesting. They're doing a really good job on their offense right now. Again, they're showing you to strength those B burst plays with those Phoenix flashes, as well as their breach flashes. They have so much flash potential, Vince. It's going to be really hard for 100T to handle the actual executes as long as Hot Thoughts are coordinating with how they use those flashes.
Especially as one of the main key aspects that we were talking about, which was individual skill and ability. It seems like Hot Thoughts have woken up and they have some real quick shooters on their team like Scoob. Playing with the Phoenix, just getting straight in the face. He got 4 in the pistol, but he's not slowed down. And as I speak with the man, he delivers again. He will get spotted by the drone, but it's too little too late as Azuna gets pummeled alongside Nitro. A successful 8 sites hit is incoming. Post plants, the spike goes down. Now, they haven't fully invested. They have Sheriffs. So there's worthwhile for 100 Thieves to try and see what they can get done and maybe be a bit cheeky in the process, but it's looking very good for a 9-7 scoreline.
Oh, yeah. Hot Thoughts should be closing this one out. No problem. The 5-on-2 against these 2 Sheriffs. Again, just really looking for exit frags. Hiko putting a recon ball there, trying to see if he can get some information. Does spot a couple, trying to throw some spam down. Again, trying to make this round expensive at the very least. Icy able to collect 1 soul there with his Sheriff, and Hiko gonna join him in that count. Well, it's still 3 standing and time ticked away so much. Again, the best he can do is make this round expensive, and only gonna be the 2 rebuys coming out this time. So Hot Thoughts are starting to find a bit of pace here, Vince. They're starting to get their grounding on this attacking side. They've shown that they have very capable set pieces. They're making good use of the Breach Phoenix Flash combination. They have Tony for the smokes. They have good intel gathering capabilities with KDS and Ozo on the Sova and Cypher. This is kind of your perennial Ascent composition. This is kind of the more standard play. And you can see why it is that way. You can gain so much with this composition as far as map control and information. And they're making good use of it.
Which is maybe partially one of the reasons why when this kind of pick came into play and you saw that Asuna dropped the Phoenix for the Reyna, you were a little bit shocked. I mean, it's a character he can definitely play. It's an agent that he's certainly proficient with, but you do lack some of that utility. He has picked off the first kill, though. I'll hold the phones on that discussion for a few moments, and Hot Thoughts on the back foot. Already making ground, though, just walking out onto B.
Yeah, I mean, they left it wide open. It is just Steel playing here by himself. Essentially, they were going for something aggressive on the A lobby side, and they did get the information that no one's there, so now they're pivoting back. But there was this little timing window that Hot Thoughts could maybe abuse, as they already are making headway through the sidewalk position. Steel, though, making great use of the Nano Swarm there, slowing down this attack, buying his time for his teammates to get into better position here. Now they're starting to fight back with Steel and company. Hiko, though, gets caught by Ozo, who pushes aggressively towards spawn. Steel just trapped in the site now in this 2-on-2.
Oh, that double kill is massive for Ozo. That could have crippled 100 Thieves, but instead it's Steel on the site with the Phantom. Double kill and a triple on top of it. 10-7. They have put a brief halt to that 4-round unbeaten streak. It was all the way of Hot Thoughts. Not a single round was picked up on the second half up until that moment.
Yeah, again, I think that's just kind of being smart. If you're going to leave a player to play by themselves, Steel is completely utilizing Killjoy's kit to its fullest potential, using the Nano Swarms and such to kind of buy time once they make that aggro push on one side of the map to be able to get them back in before the attack can well and truly set in. But also, Steel fragged his heart out there. I mean, it looked like Ozo was going to bust that wide open with that spawn take, but then Steel responded in kind and made that one a 100 Thieves victory instead, as we are going to see Hot Thoughts now taking full control of middle and pressuring that market position. Hiko just playing back from spawn. Again, they're just kind of giving this area up, and this is giving a lot of room for Hot Thoughts to work with here. They're also pressuring Tree as well with their Omen.
One of the slower rounds that we've seen to date, though, Dust, it has been frenetic and chaotic for the bulk of our regulation, and here comes the Owl drone to have a quick look. Spots Phoenix round the corner. Information has been attained. What do 100 Thieves do with it, though? Tony hiding in the dark cover. Seeing if he can maybe get the first pick, but it's going to be Scoob again. Instantly traded back from Steel's perspective. Wall is put down along Scoob to just change up his angle to the other side instead. Try and catch off guard. And now
the split's well and truly on.
Deployed. Yep, the split is looking good. They're rushing onto the side. Last bastion of hope is Dicey. He had a phenomenal first map. Can he go huge here? 30 seconds to go. Dicey waiting patiently for the play to come in, but Ozo takes his head clean off. Eco now with the Hunter's Fury is putting it down range, but hasn't really done too much. Nitro doing damage in the meanwhile with the Phantom, though, brings it back to a 3-on-3, but Hiko is so low on HP.
Indeed he is. Nitro trying to approach here from market side, trying to choose his angles here. There's one player just below him. He now knows that the spam didn't quite work out. He catches Ozo pushing and knows where another is. This could really be harmful now for the Hot Thoughts, who now are going to see their last player isolated alone in the site.
KDS goes down. Pardon me, it wasn't Hiko that was low, it was KDS. Only 6 HP to his name. He gets picked off. A successful defuse of the spike comes in. And 100 Thieves take a 4-round lead, just too shy of progressing to the next stage of the qualifiers.
Yeah, Nitro just kind of blew up that bait and switch play with patience. He was able to take a quick step out. He got them to bite, saw that the gunfire was coming from that lower corner, and then just waited to see if someone was going to peek off of it at sidewalk, and he was absolutely correct and gets both those frags. That's just kind of the savvy of Nitro, right? A guy who's very experienced in those types of situations, coming over from Counter-Strike. You know, just being able to pick his battles, and that is a big win. As 100 Thieves have now taken a couple in a row. They're finally putting a stop to some of Hot Thoughts' momentum, who are looking to get out in mid. Like, they had their Cypher, you know, kind of controlling B lobby. They do have one outside A, but they're really focusing on middle. In the meantime, though, we've seen Asuna be able to control wine position at long A, which frees up his teammates to put that pressure on Catwalk with multiple numbers.
All clumped up in middle are Hot Thoughts, now looking to try and pressure and pivot in towards Market and Pizza. And they've got there so far, but this is really only half the battle, only half the struggle.
Yeah, doing a good job pushing Steel off with that flash. Again, the problem is because they allowed Asuna to get control of Wine, this really freed up everyone else to rotate where they need to be to handle this type of mid-pressure. Now Dice is even on the complete flank through Market. That's a good rolling thunder, but Nitro able to kind of teleport his way out of it for the most part. Now the lockdown's in play.
Oh, the lockdown! Certainly Steel slamming the door in the face of all of Hot Thoughts. Gets the sledgehammer out and batters them. Blunt force trauma. Triple spray. And now 5 match points come into play for 100 Thieves.
Well orchestrated there from 100 Thieves. Not only did they get the information with the A aggression, but they used to lock down the Force Hot Thoughts hand. They made them have to push there and then on B, and they already had the rotation in place to handle it. Steel lines up to spray down for a nice multi-frag round. And 100 Thieves have well and truly regathered themselves here. There was a good little run there from Hot Thoughts, you know, getting those 3 rounds towards the end of the first half, opening up strong here in the second. But now 100 Thieves are back in control. So we are going to see, you know, a pretty A-heavy attack to kick things off here from the Hot Thoughts. They do get Orb. They're setting up to try to take in this direction.
Cover going out.
Could be the final play of our best of 3. Steel, dark cupboards into the corner. This position will be safe, but it also does give up a lot of real estate elsewhere. Main being aggressed on. Hunter's Fury doing damage, finishing off Nitro. That's a huge scalp to take, and now they can start to spin and pivot out into the side, spilling into the face of all the 100 Thieves. But Steel's position, which had gone unchecked, now comes back to sting against Scoob. He is changing up his angles. He's trying to get up close. He's trying to spray more down, but the Spectral will be his demise. KDS sprays in with the Phantom. Eco has the right idea, just the wrong position. And he is now the last man standing. Gets hit by the shock dart. Oh, he sprayed down. It will be the way of 100 Thieves. They take it 13-7, and they move through into the next portion of the qualifiers.
Yeah, no surprise to see 100 Thieves take the series 2-0, considering the seeding and considering some of the name value that is on this 100 Thieves roster. A lot of people were excited to see them come out and play. And in their debut, they've done what they were required to. They came in, they 2-0'd the series. They didn't really have too much trouble doing it. Yeah, sure, there was a bit of a resurgence from, you know, the Hot Thoughts there on Ascent. They had a little bit of a run where they were keeping the score close. But once it came down to the race to make adjustments, you could see that 100 Thieves were the more seasoned team, and to be able to handle that, to be able to think of, you know, what do we need to do to put a stop to this? I think they did a great job gaining information and getting aggressive on one side of the map to set up, you know, rotations for later on in the half. They were clean on their retakes throughout the entire series, really. And they were just the more skilled team, but they had better fragging power man for man. You know, that is sometimes what it comes down to. You can be, you know, well drilled on strategy, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to shoot the other people in the head. And if you can't do that, then you're going to, you know, might have the right ideas, but you can't execute them. And I think that is obviously another big factor.
Right, especially when there was a lot of situations where it came down to those one-on-one duels. You had Scoob and Tony like really posting up some impressive rounds. Like that 4K in the pistol was pretty phenomenal. Speaking of which, I believe we do have our replay just around the corner for the entire series. There were some really big plays. We had knives, we had 4Ks, and of course, this replay is brought to you by GoPuff, the official delivery partner of Nerd Street Gamers. Use the promo code NerdStreet when you sign up to GoPuff, and you'll get $4 off your first 4 orders. GoPuff, ordered in seconds, delivered in minutes.
And 100 Thieves also delivered this series in minutes, Vince. It was a pretty quick little run there, particularly when you look over at Haven. They had, you know, little trouble closing out this map. They had a 10-2 first half on that defensive side, whether it was aggressive pushes like that from Asuna, whether it was retakes like it was early on in the half. They really dominated here on this particular map. You're seeing just how they were able to use their utility, how they were able to play off of each other, and again, just kind of flexing that skill disparity multiple times throughout this map, just lining up multi-frags, you know, winning rounds with, you know, 3 or more members surviving. And then this map was a bit more interesting, Vince. I mean, it started off pretty dominant. I think there was like a 7 or 8-0 run from 100 Thieves to kick off here on the attacking side, but we saw an adjustment from Hot Thoughts to, you know, put their foot forward, get a couple of rounds, give themselves a chance. They had the great start in the second half, but couldn't really hold on the momentum for too long.
Yeah, we did see moments, you know, we mentioned it as well in the first map, that there were moments from Hot Thoughts. And this was really where they were dominating the map a little bit more. They won the first 4 rounds of the second half. But ultimately, as we already touched on, strategically, aim-wise, experience-wise, 100 Thieves were just a level above. But that'll do it from our first best of 3, Dust. We have another best of 3 round the corner. It will be NRG, another Titan, another Giant, to have some more action from Valorant. So stay tuned, guys, and we'll be back in just a few moments' time. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying tuned. And why wouldn't you? Because we have more awesome Valorant action coming up from the First Strike Qualifiers. I'm Vince, joined by Dust, and that was a true pleasure to get casting some Valorant. Dust, don't know about you, but I had a blast. That was really cool to watch. And even though it ended up being a little bit one-sided in the end, we saw a couple of spicy moments. 100 Thieves, they did slip and slide a little bit.
You know, I might be a bit biased, Vince, but I thought you did pretty good with your first Valorant cast. It was Vince's first time casting Valorant, by the way, so props to you. It's kind of our debut as a casting duo come over from Counter-Strike. I did one event for Valorant so far, but this is only my second time, so, you know, we're learning. We're out here trying, and we appreciate all of you coming in to support. So we got to see a really cool debut there from 100 Thieves, and we got another debut for you, Vince. It won't be their first game together, but it'll be their first game on broadcast. That's going to be NRG, another big organization making their way into Valorant, and they've done so by signing a lot of really cool names, some that you'll be familiar with already from what they've done in Valorant, and then some names, again, coming over from the Counter-Strike team, as a lot of teams are doing these days, if we're being honest. It's kind of the, I guess, most popular transition so far has been, you know, from CSGO over to Valorant, and well, we will see Daps and Som, you know, pretty big names in the North American region coming over here on this Energy squad, so this should be another fun time to kind of learn a bit about a new big-name team in this space.
Yeah, so speaking of the rosters, you just touched on a couple of them. You have Chet, Collar, EU, Exceed, and Som. And then for Kudos, a team that I've got to be honest, I don't know a great deal about Dust. I'm not sure if you've heard these guys before. Jonah, Hira, Zebro, Teddy, and Fletcher will be stacking up against NRG, who I think it's fair to say the firm favorites.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see Chet on there. I know he's supposed to be the coach of Energy. I'm not sure if he's having to fill in for some reason instead of Daps, who is coming in supposedly as the in-game leader of this team. Again, both coming over from Counter-Strike. They just announced today that Exceed would be coming in as a trial fifth for the team. He has not played many official matches yet in Valorant. He's only played a couple of maps, I think. He was always playing Reyna, so I'll be curious to see if that's what he does for this team. But obviously had a huge history himself in Counter-Strike, playing the Mountain Dew League for teams like Soar and the Quest, and even a little bit of Triumph recently. So definitely another kind of Counter-Strike guy. Obviously, Som was a young guy, just kind of really getting his start as a professional player on the PC circuit. He played on Envy, obviously, famously, as well as playing on Gen G alongside Daps, who has a huge track record in North American Counter-Strike as an in-game leader that was able to scout and bring out new talent and build his teams up to be top 10 teams in the world on multiple occasions. So now he's trying to come do the same thing over in Valorant. And then there's a couple of names that you should be more familiar with if you are a follower of Valorant. You have Kohler, who is also formerly of Immortals, just as Asuna and Dicey were on 100 Thieves. Played on that team for quite a long time. Helped that team, again, get some big finishes with the third place at the T1 Nerd Street Invitational, as well as the FaZe Invitational, where, you know, they won a pretty good amount of prize money between those two events. Also had some other top 4 finishes along the way. Kohler himself has a history of playing a lot of Brimstone and Omen, though I would say most of his Brimstone play was very early on, before kind of the meta shifted. He also did play Cypher a lot recently for Immortals, but I've been told that apparently he might be more of a duelist player on this team, so I'll be curious to see that. And then EU, a little bit lesser known, he came over from the former T1 Academy team, though he did have a little bit of play with the main T1 squad where he's filled in for them at Pop Flash. Definitely a younger guy, definitely not as seasoned as someone like Kohler. He also plays a lot of Brimstone and Omen, so I'll be curious to see. There is some overlap there with Kohler. So yeah, I'll just kind of want to see what people are going to be doing on this team. I know that Som supposedly will be playing a lot of Jet and just duelists in general. You know, that's something he's already kind of talked about in some different interviews and stuff that he's done. Again, it's going to be kind of a mystery, just like 100 Thieves was, trying to figure out what this team's made of, what they're going to be looking to run agent and composition-wise, and how well they've been able to practice and prepare so far in the time that they've had since this lineup started getting announced.
And speaking of mysteries, do you know much about Kudos, or are you in the same boat as me on that roster?
You might know more than me because you've read their names off of that roster sheet before I did, because you were talking about them. So you might actually have me beat on that one. Again, hate it, Kudos. I don't mean any offense by that. It's just there were 128 teams in this bracket, so I can only prepare so much, you know? Maybe a little bit later on down the line. This is your moment to make me know who you are.
No, exactly. Same as Hot Thoughts. You have a window to the entire world of Valorant. If you come out and you somehow upset NRG, you make the games close, you take a map from them, that can turn some heads. This is a real opportunity, and that's one of the beautiful things about these qualifiers, Dust. Like, it really does give lower team unknown players a chance to shine on the biggest stage of all.
Absolutely. It puts everyone on an equal playing field as far as how many matches you have to win to make the progress you need to get to those close qualifiers and ultimately wind up in the first strike main event, as that is the ultimate goal here and what should be, again, the first really big prestigious event that's run by the developer of this game. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this. I am going to try to give you a little bit more information as we're about to get into our first map as far as what we should be seeing map-wise from this. So I'm trying to get a little info there. Looks like Haven will be our first map. So we'll be, back to familiar territory as Energy banned Descent. So we won't see that replayed again as we saw in the first series. But Haven will come up first. Kudos pick. Energy starting out on the defense. We will have Bind coming up after that. That was Energy's pick. And then Split, if we need it, will be the third map.
So here is our beautiful... I love these fly-throughs, by the way. I think they're excellently done. And this is Haven, our first map that we casted this evening. Will be... Well, I say this evening. For me, it's late. What time is it for you guys in America right now, Dust? I know you're on different time zones and whatnot.
Yeah, there are like 4 time zones there,
Yeah.
so you got to be a little bit more specific on that. But it is 5:45 p.m. Central Time. So that'd be 6:45
evening.
Eastern. Yes.
Getting there.
Yeah.
All right.
You're
well,
already in the future. You're in the next day, aren't you, Vince?
Yes, I
Not
am
quite,
indeed. No,
actually.
not quite actually. It's about an hour to go.
15
But
minutes.
let's have a look at how these two teams come into this game. I want to see. This is now the round of 64. NRG did get a bye, and Kudos will be coming straight
Wow.
in. Is there anything catching you off guard here about the picks?
Literally everything. Sam's playing Jet, which I expected. EU is playing Sova instead of Brim or Omen. Daps is playing Omen. Kohler is playing a duelist, which I kind of hinted at being a possibility. And then EU is playing Cypher. Dude, yeah, it's all over the place as far as Asian picks compared to what they've played in the past, some of these players.
That's one of the beautiful things, though, isn't it? Coming into this, there were questions to be answered, and we've got some of those answers, but there's still so many more, and curiosity is certainly peaking for me. As Kudos start to get aggressive, Flashpoint's tossed out into the side, Jet getting that tailwind up close, the updraft as well, and throwing in the Cloudburst, and then meanwhile, Fletcher does actually take down the first frag onto Dabs. EU's also been dispatched post-haste, and now Exceed, a bit labored, but finally gets the headshot onto his opposite Cypher of Teddy, keeping the dream alive, but they do trail by a player.
Yeah, again, curious to see Exceed on the Cypher. The only games I had seen him play, he had played Arena, which is in like one of the qualifiers. Pretty dominantly.
Oh yes, there you go. Straight up slapped. Just the one kill for NRG. It was only Exceed in middle from Garage, and by that point, the damage had already been done. The side had already been lost on C. And having a look at Kudos here, Dust, it seems like we might have more of the same. 4 players stacking over onto the C side of the map.
Yep, again, they're going to have Cypher caging at the long A cross, perhaps, to deny information that they are indeed going. Omen will probably smoke top C to kind of hide the creeping up long C for as long as possible before they actually decide to burst onto the site. Again, this is very standard Haven default attack opening. A lot of the NA teams run this opening formation. They are going to have the Sova drone as well, kind of leading the charge as they come up. Smoke goes down towards spawn, and they are going to pounce on this C site, which is now wide open. There's been no defense set up here.
So here's a bit of a backstory while we're kind of talking over what should be a pretty straightforward round. So
Okay.
Kudos, bit of history for them. They did win a previous Valorant Open from Nerd Street Gamers, $1,000.
Okay.
So
There
we
you
know
go.
they're a team that they got some chops. They definitely got the ability, and we've already seen that in the first couple rounds.
Yeah, what I was referring to earlier about Exceed is I think he played in the Renegades qualifier, like the event we just had not so long ago prior to this one. But again, he was playing a lot of Reyna then. So interested to see him on the Cypher. I'm not sure if that's something he's known for playing when he's played scrims or, in other matches. But yeah, definitely a lot of cool little picks here from Energy. But Kudos is out here putting up some numbers already. They're up 2-0, but here comes the first full buy from Energy. So this is kind of the first test for Kudos, who will be holding on to a couple of Spectres. Obviously still very powerful weapons, though, so you're not really going to be too much in the back foot with those, except for at extreme range.
Yeah, this is almost more of like a bonus round. You keep the SMGs, you keep
Sure.
the Spectres in play, and obviously if you get some success, then awesome. Maybe you can even take some of those assault rifles away from NRG, but it certainly wouldn't favor them in terms of raw weaponry.
Yeah, again, Kudos came to this game with that same core 3 that you see oh so often, the Cypher, Omen, and Sova. That Smoker and those 2 information gatherers, they are, falling in line with Breach. They have Jet as their solo duelist. as they are trying to come into B now. Smoke up, flashes effective. Som trying to play up top, trying to bide his time. EU, great little shock dart there, does get one frag. And again, they're not controlling any of the links though, Vince, so they're all kind of funneled to hold off this retake.
Oh, that side swipe though from Exceed and Collar could not have been better, and the spray transfer living up to it as well. He's a player that a lot of people will have their eye on in this tournament. And it's moments like that that really show you why.
Yeah, I think that you're going to have a hard time holding off B retakes if you are not controlling one of those link areas. If you're not controlling the A link side or the B link side, or you're not able to get into garage and threaten kind of like a flank on the retake from C side, you're not really going to have success holding off, you know, energy when they're going for those retakes, especially because Som played so patient. Yeah, he allows the spike plant, but he held his time up top. He was able to make calls that no one was actually pushing, you know, deep into A link or deep into their spawn. And then they were able to just kind of come together and retake there. So that was a good job from Energy. Ooh, I like this aggression.
Yeah, this is real fast. Both teams taking the initiative. A site under real threat up on long. In heaven, Exceed blinded by the dark cover, blinded by the cloudbursts that are being tossed in from Hera's jet. And now another post plant. This has been NRG struggling with spike plants time and time again. Have been successful in one of these endeavors though for a retake. With Teddy occupying middle, it means that it's going to be more of a one-dimensional retake, and Kudos know this. In come NRG. They still have two curveballs at their disposal as the fault line comes out, but Collar's already passed it. Gets flashed. Fault line did catch on the players just behind him, but NRG so far it's been a flawless retake. Now things are getting a little bit more dicey. Punched in hell. He's gone down, and now Sova Zebro tries to flick across. If he landed that second shot, I would have lost my mind. But he has gone down, and NRG with a second consecutive defuse.
Yeah, so on the one hand, you saw a good use of the Rolling Thunder from Kudos to clear out the entire A site and force Energy to play retake, but then you saw Som, great use of the Cloudburst there. He basically cut off one half of the site, allowed them just to focus on Sewer's side, used the Phoenix flashes of Kohler to get some space, and then trade their way back into the site. So again, another well-orchestrated retake from Energy. They kept their wits about them despite losing the site early, and they played the 5-on-5 retake to perfection. And now they tie up the game. We do see Kudos will now have to be on just the Sheriffs mostly. They do have the Ghost on Teddy. Classic only for Hera. And so this should be a mop-up round for Energy. This should be them taking the lead for the first time this game.
Certainly hope so. Stormblade, or Bladestorm I should say, has already been popped alongside Cloudbursts. So Hera is getting up close. But you feel like with the weaponry or the lack thereof that they have at their possession, it would have to be that ult that goes huge, and EO's caught him out in the open, the freest of kills, and Collar's trying to flick over. That's the perfect wall bang angle. Jeez. Exactly nearly just picks him up through the wall. Now Cypher popping his ultimate. Som goes in for more damage, more kills, and the Neural Theft's information has paid out in dividends. NRG 3 in a row.
Yeah, big time stuff there. Wow. That would be my dog. He wanted to cast 2, Vince.
Understandable. It's been great action. Who wouldn't?
It has been. Puppy approved. So you are going to see Energy jump up to that 3-2 lead. Not expecting much out of Kudos that round, to be fair. They did use the one Blade Storm, which is kind of the main firepower they had, and when it got picked off immediately by EU, it was pretty much, you know, over with. But now they're back onto the buy. Som will have that AWP on Jet. Not an AWP. Oh, man, that's going to ruin me. I'm so sorry. They're both called an op for short. What do you want me to do?
Any angle.
Tell you what he's going to do.
Straight up. Pace Teddy. Ooh, the operator has missed from Som. Run it back, popped. Intel's been gathered, but no kill alongside it. Ends a bit of a stalemate in terms of the long A control, but NRG still have the advantage. They still have the edge with that opening pick onto Cypher.
Indeed, that is a good start for Energy. They got some good intel on the A side of the map with that. They still have Som holding Sewer's position. This allows Phoenix to have the flexibility now to rotate over. That's going to be Kohler. It's going to be coming through spawn to help reinforce this C and B side as he's going to be playing the top of the garage. Now, though, the re-aggression from Kudos to control A lobby. It's pushed Sam back. He's having to call for a rotation back here, which he's going to be getting in spades. Everyone's starting to kind of pivot towards spawn, but they're not quite convinced it's an A attack just yet, but it certainly will be. We can see that. Smoke's down. Spike making its way in.
30 seconds left.
Plant will go down. It's going to be another retake, but Energy will be a man up as they go for it.
A man up, but lacking a lot of utility. On multiple players, you can see that from EU's perspective, he has no recon bolts, no shock bolts either, no drone, and Zebro holding the line from the backside, putting more pressure on NRG. Cheeky attempt from Som. The updrift alongside the Blade Storm, but he's still now the last man standing. The rest of his teammates have all been pummeled in the space of a second. 3 fall, and now just cloudbursting to try and survive. Gets the first onto Hero, who has the audacity to push through the smoke. He's punished, but the round is going the way of Kudos regardless.
Yeah, tough on Sam to have to use the Blade Storm just to try to save the operator. You never really want to be using it for that type of moment, but he tried to, you know, go for that updraft peek into the site that definitely could have been fruitful, just didn't happen to find a team member that he was looking for. And honestly, that was just Kudos taking full advantage of like a very brief timing window where Sam felt confident enough to tell his teammates that they didn't have to worry about A, and they were in transition to reinforce the other side of the map, and that's the moment that Kudos decided to strike with the great little set piece on A. So just happened to find a great little timing, and that's going to tie the game right back up as we're going to see EU again go with this aggression with Jet to try to get out into grass area here and deny that mid control from Kudos, who have well and truly been forced back. They're just kind of sitting back towards their spawn, and they almost got caught. Just a brief miss there from Sam.
He's had a couple of brief misses, though, and these are the kind of misses that will start to stack up. Can cost you dearly. Remember in that previous round, they missed a shot up on long side of A. That would have been a 2-player advantage to kick things off. But these are often the small little differences that make a big impact come the end of a match.
Yep.
In terms of this round, though, it's been a bit of a stalemate. It's been a bit of a slow start.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically playing retake A because they have both trips up and they have a camp in sewers. So they're able to reinforce B and C a little bit more heavily, and they have perfect information on the A side of the map. That's great news for Energy, but can they stop this attack?
It's not looking good. Hera's coming with 2, but now Som and Collar show their hand, starting to dispatch the oncoming attackers. Hera, 3rd kill, and Fletcher goes in for 1 as well. NRG in real trouble. They need Exceeds to spring into action with a 3K. He has full HP left, but not for much longer, as Fletcher with a Phantom dices him up, and Kudos take the lead again.
With brute force fence, I mean, again, I think Energy are doing great things on this A side of the map as far as intel gathering and taking map control. It's allowing them to have a lot more freedom with their rotations. The problem is, Kudos are just smacking them around anyway. Daps has yet to find a frag on the game. Kudos is brute forcing their way, particularly through the C side of the map. And, I mean, the thing is, if you're Energy and you're getting these little small advantages when it comes to, you know, map control, you have to be able to spiral those into victories, and they haven't really been able to do that. They've had a couple of good retakes. In fact, all their victories have been off of retakes, but now you're seeing Kudos really start to clamp down.
Fault line. Pretty fruitless without any push. There was a Cypher Cage put into position, which is fending off some of that early intel and vision. But not for the first time. Kudos now with the perfect reads, pushing in. Owl Drone preceding the push, being the spearhead of the operation. Cloud bursts onto the site, and we will have another retake for NRG. They go stacking elsewhere, and they are punished. They have Exceed that's moving in towards Garage, but they've all been smoked off.
Yeah, they've been just outmaneuvered time and time again. The spike will get planted. It will be a full 5-on-5 retake. Teddy even on the flank through B site. They have no idea. Sam may have gotten a frag short, but he lines up 2. That's going to be now a 3-on-3 in play.
Collar coming in from long. Owl Drone spotted, but Teddy gets his 3rd. Collar's still been unchecked, unspotted, but now he springs into action, and there's the Vandal spray down. It's a 2v1. The spike's still yet to get planted, and EU from the side takes down Teddy with the headshot, courtesy of the Vandal. Big retake and a massive moment from Collar up C long.
I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of Kudos, man. They're doing a great job using their utility using their jet dash to just really close distance and overwhelm these sites. Again, they're finding good timing windows. They seem to just be, again, outmaneuvering Energy across the map. Energy aren't able to leverage really any advantages that they might be gaining in the early round. And will that change is kind of the big question for me. I feel like they're doing a lot of good things, but they're just not capitalizing. It's really the best way to put it.
Here it comes. Ooh, Psalm nearly lines them both up. This is, I was about to say that a Blade Storm was brewing. 2 Cloudbursts. Psalm springing up with the updraft. No one is home. For one of the first times, though, Dust, it feels like Kudos have been pushed on the back foot, and they have conceded the first player. So let's see if NRG can capitalize on this momentary weakness.
Yeah, oftentimes when Energy get control of A, they don't find a frag to boot. You know, usually Kudos is either not there, they're able to fall back off. Now, this time, Energy actually have that 5-on-4. They actually got that big operator pick they've been lacking from Psalm throughout most of this half. And Exceed will add to it. A flank comes in from Kohler. This is fantastic from Energy. Kohler with 3. Again, the seasoned veteran compared to the rest of the roster of Energy when it comes to Valorant, coming over from Immortals, and he has a big round there. He's up to 12-5. He's really trying to drag his team kicking and screaming through some of these rounds where some of his other teammates have kind of struggled to assert themselves. And that's a big victory for Energy. It keeps the scoreboard close. It kind of puts a little bit of a momentum halt over to Kudos. And now Energy are starting to find their footing a little bit here, Vince. And we can see the economic repercussions are also catching up to Kudos in this round.
Ooh, we have a Guardian in play. Okay, so bro, one tap potential is on the cards. Let's see if he can pull it off for himself. They have been spotted by the spy cam of Exceed, who's lost his camera, but it's at the cost of plenty of information, and he'll be happy with that tailwind onto the site. Here comes the Cloudburst again, Sheriff. It's speculative at best through the smoke, and it hasn't connected. It will be a post plant, but they'll know the economy right now on Kudos is pretty grim, and they're happy with this outcome. They played alone. Here comes the Rolling Thunder, and I feel like it affected almost the attackers more so than the defenders, and now they're just being completely dismantled by the Phantom of EU. So a successful plant. They did get a kill. Not too shabby from Kudos. I would say mission accomplished, Dust, but it still means that NRG moves 6-4 in the lead.
Yeah, I mean, they got the spike plant, which is kind of priority number 1 in a situation like that where you have low firepower, but they gave themselves a chance to win the round. I think that was a good idea on how they were using the Rolling Thunder there to kind of force their way out. They knew if they played standard retake positions in the post plant, they'd probably just fall prey to, you know, the superior firepower of Energy. So they knew they had to go for something, and they decided to go for the push, and they just didn't quite land the mark, I guess you could say, on that Rolling Thunder. But again, I like the idea. And again, they've been playing good Valorant overall. This is a very tight game. They came in maybe the slight underdog when you look at some of the names that are on the Energy lineup. As you said, though, they've been able to prove themselves in some of the, you know, weekly cups and such out in the scene. And now they're, you know, able to get something rolling here in this game. But they have fallen prey to the Hunter's Fury early in this round. Big catch there from EU.
Bit of a nightmare start after you've been waiting for this very moment with some guns alongside you to lose the first player. What you'll feel is a bit of a freebie. Owl Drone coming out, taking the lower ground to try and catch off guard NRG. Do spot it eventually. Shock dart behind the double doors of Garage, but no one's home. Meanwhile, Collar, again, he seems so good at just flanking in these positions where Kudos are busy elsewhere and then coming around the back to get double and triple sprays. If he's not careful, though, the rest of his teammates will be dispatched if he doesn't spring into action soon. And now he shows his hand. The spray transfer could not have been better. And all headshots all day with NRG now picking up a 3rd in a row.
Yeah, and this is why I like seeing Kohler on this Energy lineup. You didn't really get to see him play a star role when he was in Immortals. He was having to make room for people like Asuna and Dicey, who were also very skilled duelists, who were really helping that Immortals team surge to being one of the best teams in the North American region. And so Kohler often got relegated, I guess you could say, to having to play smoking agents like Brim or Omen, and then having to play Cypher even through a lot of his later time with that Immortals lineup. But now he can kind of step into the limelight a bit more. He has other people on this team that can cover some of those more supportive roles, and he gets to be a star coming into this Phoenix, and he's had a hell of a game. And speaking of a hell of a game, EU has had so many opening pick moments. Like, he had the Hunter's Fury pick last round. This round, he gets the Odin. I mean, he is definitely making his presence known.
That's just an outrageous Odin spray through the door. It's like straight into the face. And now they're walking into the Blade Storm. and they will not live to tell the tale because there's curveballs around the corner. Around every single corner, every surface, our NRG laid in wait, looking to really pay some revenge for those previous few rounds where it got a little bit sweaty. But now Exceed puts the final nail in the coffin of the first half, and NRG will lead it 8-4. And it's been pretty convincing considering they had that middle portion where things were a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, I mean, they really put it on there at the end. 5 rounds in a row to have an 8-4 lead as we take a look at the GoPuff Free Play package here for the halftime to kind of highlight some of the bigger moments that we saw there. Again, a pretty good start, I would say, from Kudos. We could see that the score was quite tight, but then Kohler and company really stepped it up. Again, I think EU had a couple of big opening picks with Sova, whether it's the Hunter's Fury, whether it was that Odin spam we saw in the final round. Again, Kohler making his presence known with a lot of these flanks. It just seemed like once Energy found their footing, Vince, they didn't really look back.
That's a good way of putting it, man. Felt like they were a bit slow to get warmed up. They did get a bye in the first stage of the tournament, so maybe didn't have the benefit of having played an opponent earlier on, but now they will move on to the attacking side. Spike in the hands as they move up slowly but surely. Not quite as aggressive as we saw when Kudos were on the attacker's side. They're taking their sweet time.
They got aggressive early. They didn't really find anything, though. Rather than overstaying their welcome, they just kind of faded back. And so now they're playing more standard positions across the map as they didn't really gain much intel from the aggression. They have a little bait and switch set up, though, at Garage, as we do see Jonah playing from the window. He's got a player up close here in the corner. So Kohler, depending on how his curveball works out here, he could either bang him out or find himself in a lot of trouble, as they are certainly going to test this area.
Oh, Fletcher gets both. Finally traded out from Som. But he's done his work. He can now sit on the sidelines and wait for the rest of his team to hopefully bring it home for him. Daps taking flashes, but still pushing forward, persevering. Hira takes him out of the occasion and then goes in for another, falls down to Som, but Teddy chips in. And Kudos, really off the back of Fletcher holding down the fort of Garage, pull it out for the second pistol.
I can't tell you how annoying it is to push against that corner in a pistol round against a classic burst fire, or later on whenever you can have things like shorties or more advanced shotguns or just whatever it may be. Yes, you can always smoke off that windows to isolate that fight or even the link hallway, but you need to have some other type of utility to kind of help you clear that corner, whether it be a flash, whether it be an aftershock, whether it be just anything to kind of make that player uncomfortable. Obviously, in a pistol round, utility is a little bit harder to come by as far as what abilities you can put into play. So it's something to think about for later, but usually that spot's only going to be effective in eco situations or pistol rounds. Point is, Energy shouldn't read too much into that. It was a big loss, sure. Great round from Kudos, but don't get overwhelmed by negativity just because you took that L.
Yeah, it came off the back of just 2 beautiful headshots. These aren't the kind of things that you can rely on round in, round out from Fletcher. As good as it was, and they still have to bypass these threats that are being generated against them. Low members. As Exceed gets finished off, he was low HP beforehand, and then Jonah with the ghost switches across to his sidearm, putting down Cola. And no spike plant alongside it, so the economy doesn't build up as much as NRG were hoping for.
Yeah, Stinger, not only a great craft cocktail, but also a great weapon to put into use in round 2 type situations like that one. Pretty clean little victory there from Kudos. As I wonder how many people are Googling that cocktail recipe right now. Of course, you have to be of the correct age. Let's be reasonable. Not trying to get in trouble here, as we are going to see the Spectres in full force from Kudos against the full buy from Energy, who are looking to pressure C very early on here. There is some mid-aggression, though, from Kudos, so they might be able to pick up on this.
Making a move just into the dark cover. Here's Fletcher. Teddy with the first. EU has revealed a couple of players' positions, but they're not too bothered about that because they're looking to plant the spike down. Now the impetus, now all of the pressure swells on top of Kudos. They do have a player advantage, albeit Cypher on low HP. They have plenty of utility alongside Jonah's breach. He tosses in the first. Flashpoint just behind it. Now they're coming in. Need to move in together as a united force, otherwise they will fall, and NRG are getting the better of these trades. It's only Hira that's picked up one, a perfect curveball. And Jonah catches it on the head with Daps to clean it up. 9-6.
Yeah, they just couldn't really use that mid-aggression to get the intel fast enough on what type of attack was coming their way, nor could they really get off the flanks they needed either, and they were down in firepower. Again, kind of the bonus SMG round there, so a tough one for Kudos, but now they're up to the full buy. They have Hira on the operator. He has shown a lot of good movement with the Jet, so I'm curious to see how he's able to put the operator to use on this defensive side. Energy setting up. Kind of standard. Again, they have Omen there to smoke off top C. They have the Cypher to cage off long A across the pressure sewers. So nothing really fancy, but we see Hira trying to push past the smoke with the operator. Unable to land the shot, but able to get away. So no harm, no foul. It's a nice try. And now we kind of settle into that kind of old classic default haven.
Updraft was used in the process, though. But that'll come back later on to haunt. Is yet to be seen. Teddy with 2. Quick-fire headshots. And it's Som's Blade Storm, the only counteractive property that NRG really have. He gets the 1, and now it's up to the remaining 2 players of Omen and Sova to try and pick this one up. But Kudos have been very good in these kind of situations beforehand. They haven't given one of those sites across to a free spike either.
Yeah, this has been great challenging by Kudos in that sewers position, kind of having a read of the situation, deciding to take the fight head on and winning out that trade. And now they have the 3-on-2. Spike is still positioned here for Energy. They have yet to bounce off. They still have Hira covering the C side right now for Kudos, so they can kind of keep their other A defenders in place.
left.
And they have a quick walk to the B side if they feel like that might be the intended target. Hira's taking peeks down long C, again, able to keep that information. So it's a 2-on-2 battle on the A side.
20 seconds allocated for this battle. Double flashes. Make it 3. All the flash points tossed in. Retina's burnt out the skulls, and Zebro gets both. Daps trying to plant. And those flash that came through from Breach were just so godly.
Bro, I don't think that Owl Drone saw a damn thing.
No.
Which was what Energy were really relying on there. They were hoping that they could use a drone to clear out some of the angles in the site to know what to focus on, but those flashes were so perfect and really denying that drone of getting in the intel. And then Energy, you know, they have to be expedient. They have to get in there and plant the spike. They can't, you know, scoff away because they didn't get the intel they needed. They had to make it happen, and they just could not force it through. Really well done there from Kudos. Kudos to them, pun fully intended.
Cypher Cage has been deployed. There was a chance, and Hira's made the most of it. Som gets picked off. It's jet-on-jet action, and Kudos come out ahead. Outspring NRG, but Jonah with a triple spray on his Phantom. Perfect crosshair placement. Pixel perfect in the end. Leaving a 1-on-5, and it's Cola with a Spectre by his side, and Teddy goes in again. Kudos bring us back to a one-round deficit. And I've got to say, I've been very impressed with Kudos so far.
Yeah, they're playing really smart Valorant on both sides of the map. Particularly this defense has been really well done. You know, you see Som trying to make a play through the cage rather than just taking the standard cross in the sewers, and he got punished for it there. Hero was, you know, waiting for that with the operator. He's been very dynamic. He's changing up his starting locations. Exactly what you want out of a defensive operator. You want them to be able to move across the map and keep the opponent guessing. I think that's what Hero is exactly able to do. He's taking aggressive peeks long C. Now he's on top of the B site. Again, just varying what Energy have to worry about.
NRG more deep towards their spawn. Now starting to make moves up onto A long. First pick goes their way. Exceed dropping the opposition Cypher of Teddy. Ooh, that was so close to spreading to Fletcher, and that would have been him dead. He would have had to have forced himself out of long into the arms of that Cypher operator.
I mean, he could have teleported, so he could have got out, but he would have wasted a teleport in a way that he probably wouldn't have wanted to use it. But he'll hold his position, and now I'm kind of curious. Do Energy suspect that he's still there? That's the real mind games that are going to come into play here soon, Vince. Especially if Jet can get in position for the crossfire. This could still be something that haunts Energy a little bit later on, but you do see that they're kind of refocusing now. They're pivoting back over. They're taking control of grass. They're looking to, you know, put that smoke on C garage. They're going to pressure that, and maybe even perhaps wind up in the B site.
Now the Blade Storm waiting for them. Omen Has his ult cancelled.
30 seconds
Hero
left.
not far off landing that operator shot, but instead just backs away, and Cola dishes the damage. Jonah comes in for 2. Shock dart has been put into place. Can't deny the spike from being planted. And now EU's going in for more. Jonah has been dealt with. Cola onto Zebro. And that will all be down to Fletcher's Omen. And he has to make the long trek all the way around A if he wants to go for this. But it seems like he's saving instead. He doesn't want any piece of this action.
Absolutely. So a couple different things there. One, that's a great use of From the Shadows, right? You're very rarely actually going to be able to use it to sneak around, but what you can use it for is, 1, for information, or 2, you force someone to have to respect it. And the moment that we see Hera have to come back and check that location, that's the moment that the initial choke point is wide open for Energy to abuse. So again, great use of that. And then the second thing I want to point to is Energy decide to control A link. That is one of the post-plant kind of theories that we haven't seen some of the other teams use on their attacking side Haven so far today, which I think is oh so vital. If you're able to control one of those links, you cut off a retake and you give yourself some extra space where you're not trapped in the site or trapped just playing out in middle. And I think that that was a great combination there from Energy to get around when they really needed one, honestly, Vince, because this game is getting really close. Kudos are challenging them quite well, and that was a very important round to win if you're Energy. And now they can just kind of fade back into, again, that standard Cypher KJ cross, Omen smoking top C, and just kind of working out information, deciding where you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, up until that point, it was 4-1 in our second half to Kudos. So a second attack round certainly will be a welcome sign. Aldrone gets pummeled and destroyed, and now the shock dart round the corner as damage being done through the wall.
Nice.
And Zebro finishes off Exceed, and he could be going in for another one as well. Wasn't far off, connecting a secondary frag, and that's just a huge start from Kudos.
Oh, it absolutely is. EU having to force a drone out just to make sure that no one's still up close on A. That's not ideally how you want to be using a drone, just to get that very basic information. It doesn't really help you make much progress. Really great little combination there from Kudos to get aggressive on that A side and find themselves an early pick. Now you can see that they're even maybe going to be challenging grass area. They do have their Cypher position inside that smoke at C Garage. Meanwhile, we are going to see Energy making that transition back over to C side. Slowly but surely, they will be looking to execute this site. Omen will be playing from the backside. He's just kind of jump peeking for information. He will have a smoke he can put down to maybe slow them down and call for a rotation.
Smoke doesn't quite land, but the paranoia does. His spray is not on point to deliver. He gets traded back straight away from Daps, and with 12 seconds to go, it's looking like the spike might get planted, or perhaps not. That's a perfect flash through, and Teddy makes the most of it. But now EO comes back in before the Jonah just closes the door in NRG's face. Kudos steal it away.
Man, I was a bit concerned because I thought that the tripwire paranoia combination there for Fletcher was going to set him up to at least get 1 or 2 kills there on that initial seed take. It didn't quite pan out, but then Jonah showing you the power of Breach. A well-timed flash allows him a way back into that site to disrupt the spike plant and roll it into a victory. And now that gap on the scoreboard, it becomes the thinnest it can possibly be. And on top of that, Vince, Energy have to go for a pistol round. And that's going to give Kudos a great chance to tie this thing up at 10 apiece, Vince. We're no longer looking at landslides today, Vince. We're looking at a close contest, and I couldn't be more excited to see it happen.
Yeah, as highlighted before, Kudos, they're definitely no scrubs. These guys, they've won tournaments in the past. They've won some of the Nursery Gamers events, the Opens for $1,000. We know that they're a solid unit, and they're proving it every single second. Fletcher now getting one, but traded out from the Ghost. It's a bit of a poor buy on NRG. If they could really get a spike plant, that would be ideal, but they've been locked down. And it's at the cost of 2 lives, which isn't too bad, but that does mean that Kudos have tied us up at 10-10.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what Energy are thinking to do here. I mean, they've been playing the standard default, but they've often been kind of out-traded by some of the aggression from Kudos on the peripheries of the map. So I'd like to see them either put more of a focus on middle and pressuring that B side, or maybe really implementing C Garage a little bit more. I feel like their standard play has fallen a bit short. They've only found 2 rounds this entire side of attacking. So I feel like something needs to change, either it be their tempo, or whether it be maybe just putting focus elsewhere on the map besides just the standard, you know, top C smoke and A cage cross from Cypher.
Aggression through middle on Kudos. It's them that's switching it up. They are taking the initiative. They are getting aggressive. And they may very well reap what they've sown because Teddy is sneaking around the back. It's a pick and it's a rotation instantly. A hit and run. A snatch and grab. But Som is dealt with him. And he'll make sure that Teddy plays no further part in this round.
I feel like he needed a teammate to help him get out of that. You know, I feel like someone needed to be playing from C Garage doorway or playing from B and helping him get out of there or setting up some type of trade. Trading 1-for-1 there on that push from Cypher isn't really good enough. It did slow Energy down a bit and cause a little bit of chaos, but now Energy have time to recover and they have a big man advantage as far as where they're going to be positioned on the map right in this moment.
Recon Dart is good. Zebro goes 1-for-1. Aftershock pummeled in. Will deny the bomb plant a few more seconds and is slowing them down, is stalling them, but NRG will not be contained. Daps and a Phantom rip and tear through the heads of the opposition, and they move one step closer to at least overtime.
He's really woken up, Vince. I mean, there was one moment, I feel like not that long ago, where he was like 0-8 or 0-9 or something along those lines. And while he's not meant to be one of the heavy lifters when it comes to fragging on this team, he's more known for his brains and his brawn. You can't be a deficit to your team. You have to at least be able to contribute. And now he has. That's a big round for him there. He's had a couple other moments as well this half. He's up to 9. Again, not really, you know, lighting up the scoreboard by any means, but now he's starting to be able to contribute and helping in some of these trading situations. And that's a big round to win for Energy. It holds Kudos off from taking a lead. They'll keep the default rolling. This time they're eyeing out any type of mid-aggression from Kudos, but it won't be coming this time around. More standard play this time.
You can see that they're respecting that push could come in again, though, and that does take a few seconds away. Maybe a bit of utility. Owl Drone goes looking. Does spot a player, but not too much, really. Run it back has been popped. And Collar has the right idea. It actually takes down Teddy. That is huge.
Absolutely. Not only did he get an opening pick, he also makes sure that no one's playing up close on C Garage, so they can take that a little bit later if they want to. But instead, they know that they've probably caused some type of rotation towards the C side. They know that they've created probably a vulnerability, whether that be sewers or B site. And so they're going to be sweeping over now with all 5 of their members to this A side. They still have plenty of utility for the attack itself. Exceed now pushing out into long, knowing no one's playing up close. Smoke will go onto Heaven. From the shadows implemented.
Oh, Hera through the cloud burst.
30 seconds
Now Hunter's Fury, not quite living up to its name. Not much ferocity behind that, but it's forced away some of the players into the choke points. It's opened up a bit of space for NRG to plant the spike, but they've lost Collar in amongst all of the chaos. Now the fault line put into position, stalling a little bit longer. Paranoia could not have been better placed, and Daps will jump on top of that with 2 more kills. You're right, he's absolutely woken up from his slumber. And now Zebro's position is compromised, and he may not live to tell the tale. Desperately trying to dart back and forth from Heaven. And he may be sent there momentarily, only 17 HP remaining, but still holds on against EU, and he realizes, I just have to save. That's a bitter pill to swallow. But NRG now have 2 map points.
Yeah, I feel like there's a parallel between Daps coming alive fragging-wise and some of these really tense late-round situations and Energy finally having success on their attacking side. They've had plenty of moments in the mid-round where things looked about even, but they couldn't really roll it into a victory. Now you're starting to see it happen. Daps is starting to able to collect on some of these retaking chances that Kudos are trying to put into place. Not only that, but that was just such a huge play from Kohler. Getting that pick into C, getting the man advantage, causing the C player to have to respect that it could be a C split and have to stay, causing the B player to have to kind of rotate to assist, and basically ensuring that they were going to have a huge advantage on the A take. They had a great smoke on Heaven. They had a great from the shadows to kind of draw Hero's attention. While he did still find an operator kill, which was impressive, they couldn't really do much more than that. And so now Energy are going to be at map point, though they are on the back foot this particular round.
And again, they go for raw aggression. Neural theft comes into play. For a few moments, they know exactly where NRG are residing. And if they didn't already know, now they've been spotted on their approach to the C site. Planter has been killed. Zebro with a shot dart, banking it off the wall and putting it into good place. But now Kohler taking the initiative, getting up close, getting personal. And putting us down to a 2-on-2. Flashpoint connects through, but it's all about Hera. It's all about his position. Here's the surprise attack falling down to Cola. Can he hold the line? Can he clutch this round for his team and put the one map to the good? Or does Jonah come out ahead? It's Cola all day. 13-10. Valiant attempt from Kudos, but they can't quite get it done.
It was a labored victory there from Energy, but they do get it done, as Vince is actually the one in the shadows right now. But Omen has appeared in the form of Vince there, so welcome back, dude. But no, I think that one of the cool things we can pick out from that match, because there's a lot, we don't have a lot of time to talk about it, is people are now able to see the impact that Kohler can have in a duelist role. It's not something he got to really do on Immortals, but we got to see it there in spades. And I think that he was the one that kept them in it when times were tough, which bought time for some of the other players to start waking up, like Daps in particular, who really started fragging pretty well there towards the end of the game to help close it out. Close game, closer than I thought. Impressed by Kudos, but Energy did get the job done that they were required to do, and so they will take the one map advantage here in this round of 64 match.
Yeah, certainly spare a thought for Kudos Dust, because I genuinely think that they had a real chance to actually not just potentially take it to overtime, but actually win this game. I mean, you go back to the start of that second half, 4-1 was the score. Huge 2v2, I think it was, post plant that goes the way of NRG. If that goes against them, if Kudos picked that up, 5-1, economy on the back burner, they actually could even take the lead. It was 10-10 at one point. They absolutely could have won this, and that was their choice of map. So they've let that one slip, and now you feel like NRG are about to kick it up a few notches.
Yeah, we're going to get to see a new map today that we haven't seen yet, is what I mean. It's going to be Bond, obviously a classic in Valorant, but it'll be our first time getting to cover it here in the open qualifiers for First Strike for the North American side. So we'll hope that you'll stay tuned for that. But first, we do have to take a short break. You hate to see it, but it has to happen. So we'll be back in just a little bit. Stay tuned.
Map 1 went the distance, and NRG nearly had to deal with a bit of embarrassment. Although take nothing away from Kudos, they were the real deal. A real team that surprised me, took NRG to their limits, and very nearly took their choice of map. But now, with it being 1-0 to NRG, they go across the bind, their choice. And I would assume, Dust, with their choice, will be a bit more clarity, will be a bit more certainty.
I'd imagine so. I'd imagine that they would be a little bit more comfortable, perhaps, on their attacking side and just kind of have a better idea on how they want to approach the map. I don't think that Energy necessarily lacked for understanding the meta on the last map. I mean, it seemed like they knew how to play Haven defaults to a T. I mean, again, a lot of the North American teams approach Haven very similarly. You don't see a lot of variance on it. It's all about the mid-round decision-making and how you use the information you gain from your Sova or your Cypher to make those final calls on where you're going to execute. I think that Energy maybe just kind of suffered a bit in some of the execution in those moments. But overall, I think that like the foundation was okay. There was just a couple little blunders here and there, as well as like dealing with the aggression that Kudos brought to the table. There was a couple of moments where they kind of struggled with that. But all in all, I mean, they were able to still get the W, which is what matters most. So I think that what we pull from that is Energy still on their way, you know, still figuring things out. But I think we were really impressed by Kohler in particular, you know, playing a duelist role now, looked good in it. And then Kudos, impressive, you know, not a team that's, you know, had as much experience as some of the players on this Energy team have had, particularly Kohler coming over from Immortals. But, you know, had that one weekly they were able to win against some good teams like Pretty Boys and such not that long ago. And they came out swinging here today, but now it's on to different fighting grounds. So we're going to be on by now, Vince. Our first time covering it here on the stream today.
A map I actually absolutely love, Dust. I know that may be not necessarily what people want to hear, but I do enjoy this map. I've got to be real with you. Kudos starting on the defensive side. Oh, pardon me, actually starting on the attacking side. No, they are starting on the defense. What am I talking about?
I don't know, Vince. I was letting you figure it out on your own. You know, I just
I got there eventually, mate.
Yeah, I was letting yourself throw yourself under the bus, and I wasn't helping lift it off of you, man. But Teddy, meanwhile, lifting Energy off the server right now with the classic inside U-Haul. Good for the hat trick already. Will he add more to it? Hira not, you know, allowing him to get the immediate quad, but still might be hunting after at the end of the day, as Exceed is really just trying to skedaddle his way out of there. As this round will definitely be going the way of Kudos unless Exceed does something exceedingly impressive. I don't see it happening.
It would have to be above and beyond.
Yeah.
Any of our expectations. Flicking in for the first. Runs out of bullets, runs out of health. Kudos will take the first pistol. I'm glad at least that the players are on point. If my brain is melted after that last map, at least the players are still fully here. And I will say that Teddy was pretty much the standout player in that first map for me, at least from Kudos. He was exceptionally good, like constantly pulling off 2 or 3 Ks.
I was impressed with Jonah's breach though in that game, and I was also impressed with Hira's mechanics. Like he had really good movement with Jet. So I just want to point those 2 things out as well. We have almost mirrored compositions in this game. I mean, again, the bread and butter trio of Sova, Omen, and Cypher is like just always going to be out there for the most part, other than Split where Sova doesn't get played. But you're seeing both teams go for a Jet, and the only difference is we have a Raze on Kudos and a Phoenix for Energy. As Kohler will be on that Phoenix, but he has already been lit up here at the fountain position, as we do see Kudos just steamrolling through Long B here. 3 quick kills against a saving Energy. So kind of the expected result, to be fair.
Oh, yeah. It would have been quite the surprise if we saw NRG coming up the gates and actually winning this, but there is a flanking play from Exceed.
Poor Zebro, man.
We just stood there like, it was at this moment he knew he done goofed, and he was a dead man.
Yeah, it's one of those awkward moments sometimes when you're Cypher on a cam or Sova in a drone and someone just creeps up on you and gives you a nice little jump scare. But in the end, Kudos do get the victory as you'd expect. They're going to keep the Spectres in play. We do see the Vandals out aplenty for Energy, except for the Phantom that will be on Exceed. And Daps. And this map really is either B splits with hookah control or a lot of short A plays, and Cypher is almost always used the way Exceed's using it now, which is just kind of getting information on showers and perhaps even helping control it. So this is all pretty standard stuff here from Energy.
Nothing out of the ordinary early doors, but we do start to have some buys coming in. The bot from Raze is bouncing and looking for information, but hasn't found anything just yet. However, the defense pushing out through showers. 2 players been spotted by the spy cam.
Yep.
NRG have a good idea as to what's coming up, and they may just look to play super aggressive on B as a result of that.
Absolutely. They're looking to take the way Sova, you know, using his arrows and stuff to help them get out into long B. They've already thrown their jet up top here. It's going to be Sam, who did actually fall down, but the cage is up. Slowing them down a bit. Teddy stepping up, only good for 1, though. So Exceed and Das getting some good trades. They have the 4-on-3, and they have control of the site.
Moving into elbow as Fletcher goes in with his Spectre. 3-on-3. Still yet to be planted, though.
Yeah.
The spike needs to go down. It hasn't gone into activity just yet, and they decide to bypass with the Cloudburst, try and push through, and Zebro looks for information with his Sheriff, but he's punished, and now A site is ripe for the taking. What a strange turn of events.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was by design or if that was just kind of a reaction to the fact that they got that trade out on the enemy Cypher inside elbow and were able to get into back halls, but couldn't really get the pick from site. They had a player in hookah. It was their own Cypher who was unable to find a pick onto the site, and because the bulk of their forces were already back halls, they're like, well, I guess we'll just go through spawn to A. And it's worked out for them, to be fair, as they will wind up with the victory, their first one of the half thus far early on here on Bind. And yeah, again, you're seeing Energy, just as we saw on Haven, understand how default is played on the attacking side. They have their Cypher playing towards showers, they had their Sova typically using recons and drones up through long B. Typically, you're going to see your duelists being used to control into the hookah area, or at least one of them, and then just kind of play from that. And of course, you'll see your set pieces and fast splits mixed in, but this is kind of what you normally see.
Operator taken by Hira, who is looking to push down B long, trying to garner some information and maybe the opening pick. Look to annul some of the pressure that is mounting, alleviate that away. Will be tested momentarily if Cola decides to peek it. The timing is off, though. Maybe just bait it out from that recon bolt. And now a drone on top of it, missing the shot, uses the tailwind to get the hell out of there with the Cloudburst. So no early casualties, but Hira missing a couple of shots that he'll feel he probably should have landed.
Yeah, so again, just kind of default attacking playing out here from Energy. They've thwarted the B aggression there. What they haven't been able to do is really get any leeway into hookah, though. They don't really have like a breach or anything in that direction to get flashes in. They could use the Omen smoke at the top of hookah in the window to help kind of isolate and get in that way, but they haven't elected to do that. They decided just to kind of fall back into short A. Their Cypher's been playing towards showers the entire time, and they know that's safe to approach, so they'll begin to make that movement, and they can set up a set piece here. The big thing here will be controlling U-Haul, trying to get that for yourself. That's going to be what we have to look out for. There is no one actively playing it right now, left. I think, here for the defense. Oh, never mind. There is indeed the Cypher there. It's going to be Teddy playing in the corner, but he's been dealt with.
Jonah, impressive breach performance in the previous map, now switching to Raze. Head removed as he is scourged across. Now they can hear the spike being planted with 8 seconds to go. Successfully gets put into position. Hira, the Overwatch AWP. Fletcher's Phantom is the next to come into play, though, and start to deal with some of the NRG players. He goes in for another one alongside Zebro, and now Hira getting up close, switching across to the assault rifle, sprays through the smoke and gets the upper hand. But in amongst all of this, the recon darts put into play, looks to fake the spike and gets punished. EO's having none of it.
Yeah, it's a good little center take there for Energy through short A. They were able to control showers. There wasn't really any aggression from Kudos anywhere on the A side. They were all kind of playing back. In fact, they had their Cypher playing inside pocket, which is kind of a tough spot to play when you don't really have any assistance to help you get out. It's kind of a one-and-done location, so to speak. And it just didn't really come into play the way that Kudos were hoping for there. And now they will just be on a few Sheriffs coming into this round, so a great chance for Energy to take a quick lead. So we are going to see them wasting no time for a heavy short A pressure.
Well, in comes the paint sheets, and now they're going to be looking to try and press behind this super aggressively, but Daps is just tapping himself into success. Wrapping around the back of the defenders and punishing them. Bladestorm has been put down range. Kudos looking to try and get in amongst the action in this round, but it's all a ruse. They start off on the A site. They quickly take the teleporter and head over onto B via hookah. Teddy using the Cloudburst There's a bit of Sanctuary trying to get up close. Can hear the spike going down. May get the drop on the spike carrier. Looking for more, but EU is up to the task and deals with him accordingly. Hunter's Fury put into place. Nullifies Cola. Could be going in for another one unless they're careful. And with both the ults up and activated, still in play, Hera is now the next player that can spring into action and start to deal with some of these threats. One of the blades goes past the head. And Exceed is now coming around the back, but Zebro takes him off the table. 30 seconds to play with. EU is kind of stuck out of position. He now needs to use the teleporter again to go back to the A side of the map. Kudos must be dizzy how much they've been spinning, rotating backwards and forwards.
Energy must be confused how this round hasn't been going their way. Basically, one stone unturned on the crate inside B side ruined them, but here we see Hera smartly stays behind on B, will be there to perfectly pick up on EU, trying to transition back through Hookah. Well played from Kudos. They did all the right things. They had a great Hunter's Fury, which got a frag and stopped the spike plant. Again, we did see that Teddy was able to play inside the Cloudburst of Container. It is a mistake of Energy to not have cleared that out before going for the spike plant. But again, credit where credit's due to Kudos for doing all that they could to win a round that they didn't really have much invested in. A nice thrifty round, as the game would say. And now they are up against a ill-equipped Energy. They have the operator in Hera's hands, full rifles for everyone else, and they're looking to, you know, build up this lead very early on.
Number of times where NRG have been ambushed. As you said, that was a bit of an oversight on their point. They had still had plenty of time left when the spike plant was dropped down from the scampering Teddy player. They have spotted players up on the B-long side. Raze popping out the ultimate, just completely eviscerating Cola. Up close, Daps goes down and Fletcher with a double spray. Teddy also activating in for one. And although EU gets himself a shock dart kill, and indeed the ghost frag on top of it, it feels like a drop in the bucket because Kudos still have 3 to stand against him.
Yeah, I mean, when you're Kudos and you know you're up against an ecoing Energy, and you know that the only real firepower they have is the Blade Storm of Sam, and then you gut check through a smoke with your dart, and you find that person, you know for a fact that you know exactly where they're going to be attacking. They could easily position the players where they needed to. That was a really good use of the drone. A nice little dart through the smoke to get the confirmation, and then they roll it into a pretty swift victory. So it is going to be 4-2 to the good of Kudos. Energy able to get back onto the bye, however. Full rifles across the board. Sam and Kohler have yet to really get going here on this map 6 rounds in, as they're kind of the heavy hitters of this team, to be honest. Or at least that's how the team's designed to be. And we saw Kohler doing great things in the first map, so hopefully they can get going here if you're an Energy fan. So they are going to open up pretty default on Energy here, but putting a little bit more emphasis on the shower side.
Cypher Cage has been triggered.
Oh, wow.
And then Teddy pushes through his own Cypher Cage to just destroy Cola, vanquishing him in the process, dropping the neural theft and getting information for the rest of the troops on NRG. And right off the back of being multiple rounds lost in a row, getting a buy into effect and instantly just being repelled. But the neural theft goes both ways. Now it's Exceed's turn to find out the information. Spike plant, post plant comes into play, but it will be NRG that find themselves a player behind.
This is going to be a tough ask of Energy, but they're trying to make it happen as a good use of Exceed's neural threat to at least give them some information to work with on this retake that's coming at them from Kudos. Jonah, though, big kill onto Sam in the U-Haul. Now it is even harder for Energy to hold off this.
Nowhere to run.
Hunter's Fury waiting a little bit longer. Oh, he was trying to prime that to deal with the defusal. You could see what EU was going for, but he just got pushed down. Very well played from Kudos. And not only did they win the round here, Dust, they win it with 4 people alive.
You know,
this
they
is
have
getting
to
out of
be
control.
Fuming that Teddy pushed that cage. There's no way Energy could have expected that. Teddy gets 2 huge kills in Shower State. That really is what kept Kudos a step ahead throughout pretty much that entire round. And now Energy, yet again, even with the spike plan, have to just sit back on Spectres and a Bulldog on Exceed. It's far from ideal, but still effective firepower. They're going to be going way heavier handed at B this time. I think they really want to get into Hookah fast. They want to use Sova's recon up long B, maybe even a tailwind out of their jet, and they want to just hit this B side as fast as they can. Problem is, Here's going to be contesting it directly with this operator. And they have the intel with that.
Cloudburst not exactly ideal, but that paranoia is good. Very good. It actually forces them back and forces them into the arms of Cola. And it's the two Spectres that open up things onto the site. Now Fletcher tries to hold the line. He gets himself 2 in quick retaliation. And these back and forths have put us down into a 2-on-2, and the firepower may be in favor of Kudos, but they've lost the first player in this encounter, and they've lost both. A thrifty win now goes the way of NRG.
Yeah, there was so much focus on Kudos at Long B, and a couple of missed op shots from Hira allows the Energy Owl Drone to make more progress and confirm that it's basically a double Long B defensive setup, which means that Hookah was right for the taking, and Kohler was there to make use of it. Kind of opened up the whole site with his maneuvering through that position. That's going to get Energy a third round. It's been a bit of a drought from them, but they finally respond and try to keep the score close. And now they will go back to just kind of playing the standard 2-2-1 default opening towards Long B, Hookah, and Cypher soloing out the showers. Again, Hero looking to be aggressive with this operator at Long B. Mixed results so far, I have to say, from him in this spot. And he's been found out by the Recon Bolt.
Gotta wonder what's going on inside the minds of NRG. Firm favorites. Wow. Out the gates fast, and it's Teddy again with the opening pick. How many times have we said that? He has been phenomenal over these 2 maps. Even the map they lost, he was up there. And now he will get pressured, forced back. Jonah, the bomb buddy, goes into effect, but won't be hitting anybody. It's just to make sure that Lamps is under control.
Yeah, good use of the drone there from Energy to clear out pocket and start putting pressure on U-Haul. The jet, though, went through Portal. I don't know if that was on accident or not, and it kind of slowed everything down for them at Short A. And now they had to kind of just reset and regroup. They still have time, but it is dwindling. They don't really have any presence, though. Like, they're just still all at the back of Short A. They have Sova still at Fountain outside B. Time's running low. Depending on what Sova finds at Long B, they could port back over to Hookah and still split this B side, or they're going to go for the A push. And they do get into U-Haul thanks to Kohler's run it back. That's a big clear. 15
seconds, though, Dust. 15 seconds, and it may get denied. In the last couple of milliseconds, Teddy denies the spike plant. And now someone else has to run over and go for the plant again, and in the meanwhile, it could get sprayed down through the Cypher cage. It's successful, but the spike plant was just planted in time. And now EU in a 1-on-3 spin round. Oh my god! That 4K from EU is unreal!
Oh my god, EU might as well be a deity that Energy is praying to at the end of tonight, because there's no way they should have run that round. I mean, they did a great job using Kohler's run it back to clear out U-Haul, but they had no idea that they had Teddy still to worry about lurking in the showers, who deny the plant, really got that down to a buzzer beater situation, and then it put EU in an unthinkable clutch situation where surely he should be walking away with the L, but somehow pulls it off with some quick flicks. He's up to 14 frags. He's leading the server, and he is somehow keeping Energy in the hunt with a round like that. That's incredible. I can't believe I've just witnessed that.
An integral moment in the game with everything stacked against NRG, but can Kudos weather that disappointment, or is this NRG second wind? They have lost the first player, but it's at the cost of the spike getting planted, and they'll take that trade. What can they do with it? Neural theft in the meanwhile. In amongst all the chaos is now given across information, which is valuable in its nature. Teddy continues to just rip through NRG with devastating rates. Disintegrating the defending Planter team now. Exceed goes in for 1. The cage is sprung, but now it's all down to EU. He just picked off a crazy 1v4. It's unreasonable to expect that he's going to rinse and repeat that. And that's the problem, Dust. If they don't have mega plays like that, it seems like they're the second best team right now.
I mean, yeah, from all the Valorant we've watched so far between map 1 and now, yeah, Energy did win the first map, but there were a lot of times where it seemed like it was reliant upon kind of crazy plays. Even the one round that they won just moments ago was based off a crazy clutch from EU. So I would say Kudos seems to more consistent when it comes to composure throughout how the rounds are being played from a strategical standpoint. But Energy certainly do have the firepower and the moxie to pull some things off here and there. So We'll have to see. My problem is I haven't been impressed by their playbook. It seems like they don't have much more than just playing off of default and maybe a couple of simple set pieces. I'm sure they don't want to show everything this early on in the tournament, and that could be a part of it. But I was kind of expecting more considering the brain power behind this team with Chet in the coach position, that's being a seasoned in-game leader from Counter-Strike. I just would have thought they'd be a bit cleaner on some of these attacking rounds.
Still have time to at least tie up come the second half. But a lot of these attack sides have certainly been scrappy, to put it kindly. Take nothing away from Kudos, though. These guys have been playing stellar.
Yeah, Teddy's been an absolute monster. He's playing Cypher in a way that I'm not used to seeing as far as how assertive he's been able to be. Unfortunately, it's been a caster's curse in this round, hasn't it? EU's found him out with the Stinger, and here comes that B press.
Bulldog. Will it have more bark or bite? Well, it seems like it may very well be the former rather than the latter, because Kudos are being pretty convincingly slapped aside. Spike plant down. Kudos may think about saving these two guns, although Zebro's in a very compromised position. There's no easy way out here. But you can see from Hira's position, I don't think he has any interest in actually going for this. So it seems to me that Kudos will try and slip away. Cloudburst put down to afford them the luxury of saving. Tapping through, some has the right idea, but can't quite connect the dots. And out comes Daps, who gets punished by Hira's overlooking operator. And in doing so, well, NRG will have a fifth at least.
Yeah, right when it matters most, you're starting to see Energy figure some things out on this attacking side. They're going to find themselves yet another with one more round left to go in the hat that puts them up to 5. And I will say, Bind is one of the maps that is often a little bit more defensive-sided. I mean, I would say all the maps are fairly balanced. I don't think you could exaggerate one side over the other. I know that Haven sometimes favors attacking side because there's 3 sites. I know that, you know, Split can obviously be fairly defensive. And this map, I think, is fairly even, but definitely could drift a bit defensively. So the fact that Energy have 5 rounds, and considering that they had such a cold start, you know, being down 2-5, having won 3 of the last 4 and 1 round still to go, they're definitely having a nice little recovery here. EU's been very impressive. Exceed's starting to come into his own. I still haven't really seen Kohler and Sam come alive, though, the way that I would have thought. I think that's what's going to have to happen defensively for them to make sure they get the 2-0 in the series. Meanwhile, Kudos seems like much more of a equal distribution of impact.
Oh, you just touched on him, but Kohler's had a bit of a quiet game so far. He does get the first. I feel like a lot of his impact was on the defense side as well, on Haven. Going for those flank and opportunistic kind of plays. Neural Theft comes into play. Run it back also. Even though the Boombot comes in, oh, there's a beautiful grenade tossed in, and there's another one. This time, though, it's the ult from Jonas Rays. Looking to raise NRG to the ground on their endeavors as they push in. So many wallbang frags come in. They're giving as good as they take. Kudos still maintain the player advantage. Molly comes down, but the flashbang is so good. And Fletcher making the most of it. This leaves it all on Daps. He has control of the spike. It will be post-plant. 1v3. Can he go where EU went before him? Can he clutch what feels like an impossible moment? And there's the first. He comes in for a second, but can't quite get the triple spray. But it was so close to coming up again.
Yeah, too close for comfort almost there for Kudos, but they will win it. They will win 7-5. And I have to say that the bulk of the reason why they won that round is how well they countered the run it back from Kohler. The paint shell and Boombot combo from Jonah basically riddled Kohler's ult useless. And I think that's what basically just shut Energy down from ever making an A attack come to fruition and helps Kudos maintain the lead as we take a little bit of a look here from Go Puff on some of the highlights here from the first half. And, well, no surprise, Teddy was the one to kick things off. And really no surprise to see Kudos continue to be impressive, Vince.
Yeah, I've kind of been blown away. I came into this game thinking that NRG wouldn't necessarily walk it, like, super easily, but it would be a pretty comprehensive victory. The fact that first map went down to 13-10, and this is dead even going through into the second half, or at least it feels that way. Obviously, you got a slight lead. I think it's just boding so well for them. Wall down. Owl Drone has been dealt with, and now in comes Som. Updrift trying to get up close. That's Fletcher, who started off on Haven, remember, with a crazy 2K. Everything going against NRG again. Down to a 2-on-4, and they've lost control over A. They have to give it up.
Yeah, it was one of those great in theory, not so well done in practice there from Energy on that aggression through short A with the Phoenix and Jet combo, clearing things out and getting intel, but not being able to win their duels. And now they are well behind this round, trying to retake. Daps coming in through showers. Let's see if they can try to make something happen, but it just seems so unlikely.
Exceeds has the ghost. Ooh, missing out narrowly. That looked like it may have even been a headshot, but it doesn't really matter as Jonah putting down Daps on the Omen. 8-5, 3-round lead already.
Yeah. Really well done here from Kudos, trying to keep that 3-map dream alive, which we know how important that is, considering this is a single elimination bracket. There is no safety net. There is no room for error. If you're unable to reach that top 16, you're not making the closed qualifier. And so in a tournament with no second chances, it puts even more pressure in a map 2 scenario. And here's the other thing. When you have a raise, this is the bank shot you're going to see time and time again with that boom bot, Vince. It's so useful at clearing out hookah. That's the difference between using a Phoenix Flash to get hookah control and then having a raise that just has great utility to be attacking this really small area of the map. There comes the paint shell as well.
Good crossfire that's been established in hookah. Kudos. Smoking out NRG pretty significantly, though. You can see 2 of their players are actually exceptionally low, but Daps still holding on with the classic of all weapons. Putting Kudos in an awkward position. They still have control of the spike. They've lost control elsewhere. Not entirely sure as to whether a player is pushing around the back of A through showers. But now they're using the teleporter to try and get up close around Catwalk of short side and try and push in. They have to deal with the oncoming attackers. Now in the form of NRG, the roles have reversed, and it's a bit of a massacre. It goes heavily in favor of Kudos, but in amongst all of this chaos, they have drawn over Daps and Omen to A, but Kudos have correctly decided to hit B instead. And so this position from Daps left means absolutely nothing.
And will he even really expect a Cypher to be sitting inside of a spawn if he decides to transition over?
Spike planted.
He puts a smoke down to try to throw some uncertainty over on the B site, but in reality, Kudos knows exactly what they're up against, and they, like you said, have a heavy advantage in this post plant. Not really a whole lot Daps can do here. He will take the teleporter over towards Hookah side. He's got the Bulldog. He's got a little bit of time. 1 smoke and a couple of teleports to go.
Dark Cloud onto the site, taking damage though straight away. Dropped exceptionally low, and I think at this point he knows his days are numbered, so he tries to piece out of there. At least save the Bulldog. It gives you something to play with in the next round, but that will be Kudos. 9-5 in the lead, and NRG in real trouble.
Yeah, I think the moment that he realized that his smoke didn't capture the bomb, he knew that he had to just get out of there, or spike rather. I mean, it's one of those things where he basically put his smoke on one of the most common planting locations for a spike, but was wrong, and so couldn't really kind of threaten the Ninja Diffuse, I guess you could say. And so it's another round to Kudos, building up that lead. Economy still,
Yes, this should do.
I guess, lacking for Kudos in the sense of overall firepower, but obviously they're still in the driver's seat, taking a bonus round. Finally, the buy up from Energy here. This is a big test for Energy. I feel like they need this round to stay in the race of this map too.
Feels that way. Look at EU as well, by the way. 17 kills. Nearest player on his team's on 9.
Yeah.
And
Meanwhile, look at the other distribution. Kudos, I think it's like 13 on their top frag or 10 on their bottom or something like that. It's so close.
Lamps are hotbeds of action, but it's Exceed that comes out ahead. Somewhat of a bonus round on Kudos. And so far, they have been impaired and subdued on their way across the spy cam. Doing so much work for Cypher. But Teddy, again, who else? Stepping up when Kudos need a hero. Stepping up when they need a talisman. Fletcher suppressed by Cola. NRG regain the player advantage, but they have got to do the best of converting this. And not just converting it, Dust, but keeping players alive. If they lose a ton, that could very well cost them in the end. But Daps and Exceed both straight through with headshots. And Teddy, the man that we've been keeping an eye on the other side of the map, looking to just save his picked up weapon.
So a first big test on the defense from Energy has been passed. I thought they were in a bit of trouble. I thought Kuz was doing a pretty good job putting that pressure on U-Haul, again, showing you the power of Raze's utility in those small rooms like Hookah, like U-Haul, where the boom bot and the paint shell can really either do a lot of damage or do a great job, you know, pushing players out of position, gaining space for yourself to set up attacks. Weren't able to quite put the pieces together, though, that round. Energy did a great job holding it off, and now they have a little bit more room to work with all of a sudden. We are going to see Kudos lining up for a heavy A pressure right off the bat. No presence on B side of the map this time. They're looking to just chase that drone and try to get out into open space in the A site. Great paranoia, though.
Yeah, that was a good paranoia, but Cola, how aggressive he is right now with this run it back. He comes out second best, but he does get intel.
Yep.
Now, whether he saw a second play there, I don't think he saw Teddy in showers.
Between that running back and the counter paranoia, it's really put Kudos' attack up short A to a screeching halt, but now look at this little jump they've done onto the truck. They've been able to get a lot of space, and look at the repercussions. The huge entries come in.
Huge entries, and it might be a huge round behind it. A Soul Destroyer, an Economy Breaker, a Shackles Maker, perhaps. Exceed stuck behind the dark cover. Cola has not been handicapped by any utility as of yet, but still needs to tag team his partner back into play if they're going to pull this one off. The showstopper in play, but Exceed through the wall gets a second. Neural theft for the last player. They know exactly where Fletcher is. They dealt with him. That will be a successful retake, and Exceed with a 4K.
Did Jonah jump into a tripwire with the showstopper? Is that what happened? If so, that is so unfortunate, because you think when the showstopper comes out that it well and truly will stop the whole round. It'll turn it on its head. You know, yeah, they had to worry about U-Haul being taken over by Kohler. You know, the retake was well and truly on shore, but they had the main advantage, and they had a big ult coming out from Jonah that should have at least guaranteed one frag there in the end. And with that, you would think that's the insurance policy needed to secure the round, but instead they get absolutely nothing with it. The tripwire comes heavily into play there. And Energy somehow pulled that off, despite the huge disadvantage, and now they have Kudos saving. They're right on their heels all of a sudden, Vince. And the bank shot of the Boombot will come out to clear out this Hookah position.
Blade Storm, primed, ready for action. Paranoia connecting onto Cola. But a good counteractive curveball keeps them at bay for a little bit longer. As you said, though, it is an eco. Cola has to go forward. He can't afford to go back, as the paint shell was just behind him. 3v2, Kudos, sorry. Now stuck in Hookah. They do have control, at least, of the spike.
Yep.
And they have a Blade Storm of their own.
And they picked up a Vandal. So, I mean, they have a little bit of firepower to work with here. Here kind of puts like an unintentional one-way up, though, with that smoke, unfortunately, which helps Exceed just kind of peek out from the back halls there and forces Hira all by his lonesome. He's picked up an operator, trying to dance around the site and see if he can't pick up something and try to open up the floodgates of the round, but so far nothing coming his way. Daps will, with the crossfire there in the back halls, put the finishing touches on the round, and Energy now all of a sudden one round away from tying this up and keeping the 2-0 dream well and truly alive. We are going to see how Kudos want to set up here to kick off this round. You can see that they are once again setting Raze up to try to get that Hookah control. They do have Sova and another duelist looking to probably take control of Long B. And then they do have their Cypher positioning over towards Showers. Again, very standard way to open the round. But as I say that, Sova and Ohm actually peel off to go towards short A. So it's just going to be Raze trying to attack in the Hookah.
Maybe playing a bit of interference. Try and keep them busy. Maybe try and catch them as they rotate into the teleporter. Or away from the teleporter. Now Jonah with the Vandal headshots, kicking off the round. And keep in mind that was pretty much NRG waiting for that play, and they still fell prey to it. So, yeah, really brutal.
Definitely brutal to see Kohler just trying to do a solo aggro effort out Hookah and get shut down. A one-way smoke will get put up by Energy here on the double stack box of short A to try to give an advantage on a duel that might take way through this alley, but as you can see, Kudos are not biting on that. They'll wait for it to fade before they begin their approach, and now they are starting to form up for an A split. Their Cypher will solo out through Showers, the rest coming through short A. The one-way smoke deployed again from Energy. on that double stack box once more. Again, it's so hard to feel confident pushing through that, so they'll wait once more before they set up their own smokes for the attack. And then the real test will come for Energy. What can they do against a 5-on-4 full execute on this A
30
side?
seconds left.
They made the right read. They've sent over the bulk of their defense over onto A, but it's what they do behind this. The timing could not have been sweeter, and Dabs with the sprays on point. It's actually a shock dart that kills him. And now EO up in heaven with the Hunter's Fury alongside him, denies the bomb plant. 12 seconds to go. Tapping the bomb again, going back into the default position. 8 seconds. There's no one that can stop this plant. And now they need to come together and make something special happen. Som's had a bit of a quiet game so far. He's one of the 2 remaining players.
Oh, wow.
And EU's doing all the work in the meanwhile with the Vandal. Jonah back to the wall, quite literally. Multiple angles to cover by himself. Vandal in hand, making noise, just praying for the best. Recon dart comes out, and there's Som getting up close with the shotty.
So well done for Energy. As you said, they got a great rotation in for the retake, despite being a man down, and EU just had so much impact. Not only did the Hunter's Fury deny the bomb plan a couple of different times there, it also was this moment where EU found a timing to slip down from A heaven undetected, and it really caught Kudos off guard. They were sure that he was still in that window, and so when he swung around the default box, they were not prepared for that angle. They were not ready for that duel, and it came back to crush them as EU continues to have such a big game. He's up to 20 now. 14 apiece for Exceed and Dat, so a couple of his teammates have started to wake up. And while Som's been overall quiet, he had a big round there. Great use of Jet and the Shorty to lock in the round and tie up the game at 9 apiece.
Well, the Shorty dealing the fatal damage to the Boombots. Does buy up a little bit of time and a bit of space. Som shooting between the 2 of them, honestly, in another day, that's almost a guaranteed kill. Puts them in a great position for NRG, but instead they lose hookah control.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world if you're Energy losing that. Against a Raze, it's very hard to maintain between the Boombot and the Paint Shell. It's so hard to sit in that room. You're going to take damage. You're going to be put in an unadvantageous duel with the Boombot. But look at this, Exceed just walks out and somehow still doesn't get the frag. There was so much focus from Kudos on short that Exceed got free reign, but couldn't do anything. But now that's on the flank, could be the one that gets the job done. Indeed, he does even at least back up.
His position revealed, has to wait this one out, being encircled by Kudos players, and it's Fletcher now puts him down. Will pulverize not just him, but potentially NRG. 3-on-3 retake, 30 seconds to play with, spike planted. More than enough time for NRG to rummage together a master plan. They need to put on a clinic and be pristine on their endeavors for this retake. It's such an integral moment, a fulcrum point in this game. Blade Storm has been elected. NRG want to try and retake with knives alongside them. Jet needs to get up close. Cola coming in from the side, spotting multiple players towards the lamp, but he can't quite get it done. The showstopper was brought into action, but he got neutralized instantly afterwards, and Hera spins up into play. The bomb gets tapped, the spike tapped for a little bit before E goes back in, but it won't be another clutch. He's already got one too many on this site. He gets neutralized, and Kudos take the lead again.
I was concerned for Kudos. That was the second time that Jonah's showstopper gets absolutely nothing, and I really worried that that was going to open the door for Energy to pull off the victory, but not quite. Hera holds on, pushes it to 10-9, and now things get tense once more. All of a sudden, this game is very much up for grabs.
Here.
Again, Kudos Tournament Live on the line, though. Energy have the 3-map safety net, having won the first map on Haven 13-10. And so this is a real big round. You are going to see Kohler able to pick up the orb, and now it opens up the door for him to run it back when he so chooses.
So tense with so much on the line. Qualifiers for first strike, beckoning for both teams. NRG, one map to the good in our round of 64. Now run it back has been deployed. Phoenix doesn't get much from that in the hands of Cola. New though goes in on Teddy. Big pick. One of the main stars on Kudos has been sent packing momentarily. The bulk of the defense over on B, 4 players strong over here. This leaves a lot of Pressure over on A. Hands of Jets.
Yep. Really just trusting in Sam to solo hold it, and why the hell not whenever they're able to just take these duels at long B and win all of them. Really great use here of their utility in positioning to just absolutely pounce on Kudos, who have just been running their heads up against a brick wall on this B side. They had hookah control. They were trying to get up B to split, but they can never really find their footing here. Fletcher gets a couple back, sure, but only to have Sam rotate into the back halls for an easy operator frag to tie this thing right back up, and money reset now for Kudos. Right back to just a $1,900 loss bonus, which is going to equate to pretty much diddly squat this round, Vince, if we're honest. Looks like they do actually force up what they can here onto Zebro, who will have the... Never mind. Sells it back, gets the Guardian, sells that back, gets a Sheriff. All right, they're a little bit indecisive, but now it seems like they finally settled on just getting the pistols.
This is gonna be fun.
So yeah, Sheriff and Ghost up against Assault Rifles and an Operator. Best of luck, Kudos. In terms of their ults, not too many of them are going to be available either. So this should be a chance for NRG to get themselves in the lead and a couple steps away from securing this best of 3. They've got the first. Teddy's gone down first off. Good news. Ooh, interesting from Som. Actually blinding away the camera, the recon bolt there. Oh, they do have an ult. Hera's got himself the Blade Storm, and you feel like if they're going to win this round, it needs to be Hera doing damage, but he misses everything with the right click. And with that miss, the round will be falling into position. They do get a spike plant. It's not too shabby, but that's all they're going to get from it.
Yeah, between the 2-round loss bonus and the spike plant, they should have a decent buy coming up in this next round, but it'll basically be their last real chance. Energy are knocking on the door of map and series point right now. They've real and truly found momentum on their defense. They've won 5 of the last 6 rounds played. Make that 6 of the last 7 with that victory just now. Other than winning the pistol and the following anti-eco, Kudos have yet to really be able to find success on this attacking side. They've had a couple of close calls, to be fair, but nothing consistent other than their frag distribution. That is still quite tight. 16 at the top, 14 at the bottom.
Oh, this is a nice
Definitely still very much in this game, but this is the round they must win.
Yeah, it was a nail biter over on Haven, and so far Bind has been much more of the same, and it's Som now shifting through the gears. He had a slow start, but he's starting to do a bunch of damage. But Som's now been dealt the fatal blow. Daps comes in with the Phantom. He's traded up by Hera. It's carnage, it's chaos, and it's a post plant.
Spike planted.
Spike down. Now NRG with Exceed and EU. EU, of course, is their top fragger. He's been having a stellar performance. But moving in from awkward positions, revealing the area with the recon bolt, instantly gets destroyed. Exceed now goes to the wide swing, down to the hands of Hera, and there's a good crossfire. The second that EU comes around this corner, he may get one, but there's no way he's getting both of them. We're tied up again.
Indeed, 11 all. Down to the wire here with Kudos Tournament Life on the line. Can Energy keep the 2-0 dream afloat? They will still be fully bought out here, including Sam on the operator, who's been finding some opening picks lately, as you noted. 4 rifles in play for Kudos. Cannot afford to get reset again, though, Vince, in my opinion. If that were to happen, Fletcher and Zebra would basically have no credits to spend as Energy go for the victory. So they really need to get this one too. They're not out of the woods yet. That was a big victory, but there's still that economic reset looming in the shadows that could come back to haunt them.
Oh, this Hunter's Fury is massive. It catches 2 of them stuck in a close claustrophobic angle, and they make the most of it. Fletcher and Zebro spring in, and now Fletcher's got a second. Not only will they not get reset more than likely, but they could be a step away from taking the second map. It comes down to NRG with 2 in the versus 4. The spike plant is in effect, and it's on the other side of the map. It's on B. They've been a complete and utter dummy, and they fell for it.
That was so well done from Kudos. Just a well-orchestrated round through and through. Took it and never really looked back, and now they will be at map point, as you said. They will avoid the economic reset. They will maintain 4 weapons. Energy will save what they can here in the attacking spawn. But it's all going to come down to one final round. We haven't had an overtime yet, Vince, but we could very well get one. If those of you who don't know us from Counter-Strike, Vince and I are like this, known as the overtime duo. We get so many overtime games on that game. And we might get it here on Valorant. Which, you know what? I'm down. Sign me up.
Match point.
I'm certainly alongside with you on that one. Whether it'll happen or not, it's yet to be seen, because honestly, Kudos could very well just outright win this. Could be easily a third map.
Yeah. They are definitely looking hot to trot right now, that's for sure. They've won 3 of the last 5. They've won the last 2 in a row. They're knocking on the door of a 13th round to force that map 3, which, if we get to that point, that would be our first time really seeing a series go the distance and really close games involved in it as well. Next map would be Split.
Some aggression. Cola getting up close. Was the run it back, of course, so he gets teleported back onto the A side where 3 players reside.
Yep.
4th player now will be making moves over. That's Som to join on the B side of the map.
Yeah, it's a great use of it to get early information. You can also see some teams use Sova Owl Jones through the teleporter for that same thing, or maybe even a boom bot. All the same effect, just getting that early knowledge of whether or not they're going for a heavy hookah take or not. If they're not, you can, you know, feel pretty confident that your short A defense is in the right place.
Wall bang headshot onto Hera. Maybe we are headed to overtime yet. They're getting clobbered and impaired on the push, but Teddy, who else? Gets him with one. Jonah battling back for a second, and suddenly the advantage now falling in favor of Kudos. Teddy watching from the cross angle. EU joined alongside Som. Blade Storm has been opted for. Teddy's position will be known. Oh, he's missed the Blade Storm, and that could be the round, and that could be the map that goes with it. NRG now only have themselves 1 player to go for. Up against 3. EU might get picked off at range, but now Som's position is compromised, and there goes Zebro. That's going to be all she wrote. We're going to head to Split after all, Dust. Kudos have done it.
Indeed, they have. Both these maps have been so very close. There's been so many momentum shifts throughout this series, and we've been impressed by Kudos all the way through for their efforts, and now it finally pays off. It gets them to a map victory. It keeps them afloat in this qualifier, and as you said, it takes us into our first map 3 of the qualifier here on the main stream, and I'm excited because I want to cast some more Valorant anyhow. So what better way to do it than a close game between, you know, Energy team that on paper, you know, is supposed to be the favorite. They had the big organizational support behind them at Energy, which is a huge brand in esports, up against a, you know, Kudos team who, outside of, you know, an online weekly cup victory against a couple of pretty solid teams, we didn't really know much about them. But they've come out here, they've come out swinging, and they have really been on point, and I'm so happy to see this go a third map.
As am I, Dust, and as I'm sure the audience is too, but you'll have to wait a little bit longer before we get to those sacred grounds of Split. First, we'll be cutting to a very short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. After a short break, we are ready to delve back into more Valorant action, and we've gone the distance, Dust. I don't think many people would have necessarily expected it seeing NRG, but kudos showing to us that they are no joke. They are to be reckoned with, and you must give them their due respect. Otherwise, they will punish you as they just did. And now we move across the split, and for me, it's anybody's match.
Yeah, Energy may have spent a truckload of money just to go out in the round of 64, putting this team together. So this is well and truly pressure on for these players, right? I mean, they come over with a very solid CSGO pedigree, particularly Daps as an in-game leader, very good reputation coming over from CS. And Som was like seen as this young upcoming talent over on Gen G, was doing some pretty good things with them throughout this year. And, you know, you had someone like Kohler, who, you know, obviously was a pretty big piece of the Immortals team that was placing really well in all the North American Valorant tournaments over the last few months. A couple of third-place finishes included in that. And, you know, Kohler, while he wasn't, you know, the star name like an Asuna or a Dicey, he's now been given that opportunity on this Energy team. And, you know, in the first map, he looked quite good. Second map, a little bit of a cold start. Had some recovery, but still not quite exactly what they were hoping for, I'd imagine. And, again, Energy have invested a lot in this team. You know, when it comes to names on paper, when it comes to money spent, when it comes to salaries being paid, that's a lot of investment. And to go out in the open qualifiers this early would be a shock, I think, to them. No pun intended to the other team that they own. But man, like, this has been so fun to watch, though. So, like, from a third-party perspective, where I couldn't care less who comes out on top, I'm having a lot of fun. This is a blast. Kudos is doing great work.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And, you know, we mentioned him quite a few times, but I knew nothing about him coming into this tournament. Teddy on Cypher has been a real revelation for me. He's just been destroying. He gets the first picks. He's playing super aggressive as Cypher, even on defense sides. As you said before, he's not playing a style of Cypher that you're accustomed to viewing. Typically, Cypher falls into kind of like a box. You know what to roughly expect from Cypher. Well, Teddy's blowing that completely out of proportion. He's just going crazy with him.
Yeah, and it's great because Split's another map where Cypher is obviously going to have a lot of impact, right? I mean, Cypher pretty much is picked on every single map, and so he'll still be able to play right at home with Cypher onto this one. Can anchor either side defensively. I've seen teams do it either way. Obviously, attacking-wise, usually going to be using the periphery of the map for information, particularly over at A ramps. A lot of the time is how I see Cypher use attacking-wise. Not sure how Kudos will do it, though. So yeah, he'll be able to kind of just continue on, probably feel pretty comfortable, and we'll just have to see how it goes. And for Energy, again, I want to see what their attacking side is going to be like. In particular, because I feel like there's been some, you know, left to hope for, I think you can say, with Energy's attacking side so far this tournament. Haven't been as impressed as I would hope. And this is another map where mid control is going to be vitally important. And that's the big thing I want to see. Like, this map is so mid control driven on teams being able to attack into middle and control that vents and mailroom area. And it's about how defenses handle that. Because a lot of teams will play like double B heaven setups. They'll do different things on the edges of the map to compensate for losing middle. And I'm curious to see how both these teams handle that pressure, because that can be a very tough thing to deal with on this map. And that's going to be the real big test, I think, for both these teams on how they handle that.
I'm also really interested to see if we spot any changes of agents. We saw Jonah go for a breach in the first map, was very good on it, then switched to the race, equally good, I would say. Curious where he comes down. I wonder if we see any changes also on the NRG side of things, thinking, listen, Bind didn't really work out for us. Split is a very intricate kind of map where, as you said, mid control is really important. Do we start to see some more hard breach style kind of agents come to the forefront, perhaps?
Well, I can tell you, you're not going to see Sova on this map. This is the one map where Sova really doesn't get picked up. Obviously, you'll probably still see a lot of Omen and Cypher, but because Sova does not come into this map, it opens up the door for more breach play. His flashes can be super powerful, particularly for some of the sight bursts that you can do on attack side. So that's something that we'll probably see. I think that this map also lends itself, if you want to pick a Viper. We've seen a little bit of Viper being played, particularly by Anbox in the most recent Nerd Street Gamers Renegades tournament. They were putting some Viper use into play because her wall, her toxic screen, is actually very effective, particularly on the A side of the map. It can cover a lot of ground by itself. So you could see maybe some Viper, if like, as far as like a curveball. I wouldn't expect it. Like, I'm not expecting to see it happen because it is still so rarely picked. But it could be, you know, something that comes out. You know, there's been some teams experimenting with it. Killjoy is also an option on this map that we've seen some teams roll. But again, I would expect Cypher to be the primary. And yeah, other than that, I think you'll see a lot of the same kind of duelists being used. I don't think either player between Som and Hero will come off of Jet on this map. There's really no reason to. So I expect that will still be very much in the fold. But yeah, outside of that, it'll be interesting to see, if there are any changes, as we're kind of hinting at. Definitely the Sova change will be there, though. I really doubt you see a Sova being played here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're yet to see, as we're just waiting for the teams to get ready so we can delve into our third map. And actually, we're going to be jumping into our map fly-through right now. We haven't casted Split yet today, so this is going to be a real joy. And I'll be curious to see how these two teams come out and factor in and filter in. One team must win. One team is going to be put to the sidelines. Who will it be? I wonder how many people would have expected potentially NRG to already be down a peg or two come the end of the 64.
I think most people have been surprised at the match being close, much less them actually dropping one in the series. I mean, again, that is going to be disappointing for them if they fall out this early on, considering the investment behind this team and considering the name value that Energy brings in the esports space. But indeed, it does come down to Split. Our first time seeing it today. Obviously, you out there should be no stranger to this map. One of the core maps to Valorant from the very beginning. It's had some changes here and there, but still very much at home on this map, no matter what.
Has your feed froze as well?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You know,
I'm just staring at a tower right now.
Yeah, you know, it's a cool looking tower. Hey, there we go.
There we go.
Yes.
It's all good.
And indeed, reaches out to play. No Sova in sight, as we kind of expected. Other than that, nothing's really... Oh, there's a Sage from Zebra. Okay. This is actually one of the maps where Sage's wall can be very useful, particularly at mid defense. It can also be used, in particularly for B burst plays. The Sage wall can cover a lot of ground on B to help you kind of cross into sight. So while Sage pretty much got nerfed into oblivion, this is a map that she can still really have a lot of value. So I'm happy to see her in play here from Kudos.
Yeah, that barrier is definitely going to be a consistent feature. We'll have to see how they can occupy it from the attacking side, though. Maybe fend off one of those angles they look to push in. In terms of the setup right now, it is basically an A-centered hit from NRG in terms of their defenses, filtering out with 2 in middle, but by and large giving up B and just having Daps watching over from the top
and there
of
it
the
is.
rafters.
There's that wall I'm talking about, and it's been able to reinforce. So that's going to be allowing a route into the site now to get that plan. Also a great jet dash to get in, but can they hold off the street take fence? They're already a man down in it.
Yeah, and NRG were playing for the retake anyway. They only had one player up in the rafters, so the second that happened, they just backed off. And now Exceed up close, delivering fatal blows with Som. It seems like Kudos may very well have got the plant, but whether they can hold on to it is looking unlikely. Cloudburst out to just stop any of the stragglers, and Cola, he had a slow start beginning, and let's be honest, end in their second map, but he has really come to life here on Split.
Yeah, that's a great retake from Energy, and that kind of gives us our first little taste on what you're going to be seeing, because I guarantee you that combination of that Sage wall and the Breach rapid fire flashes and the jet dash is going to be a B execute we're going to see even on gun rounds later on, I'd imagine. So the fact that Energy were able to handle it in the pistol with a good retake is going to be something that Kudos is going to have to think about going forward. Obviously, there's other uses for Sage besides just that. But that is definitely one of the popular ways to use Sage on attacking side, is that particular wall. You can also use the wall to help you out in other areas, particularly holding off retakes. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out going forward.
Slow Orb being set up for an A hit. Ooh, good flashpoint as well, keeping them at arm's reach, but now the Spectre starts to rip through the oncoming Kudos players. Som has been tagged down so hard, I have no idea how he's still alive. How is he still in this? And Fletcher finally finishes him off. There is a tripwire down in the vents. And all around the world tactic. They've gone via B, in towards middle, through onto A rafters, but now they have been subdued and pushed back just for a few more moments before they look to try and pull the trigger on this push. But they only have 2 players left now.
Yeah, we see Energy being able to kind of regather themselves. It was a good little quick transition from Kudos to slide back their Vince to B side, but Kohler's done a great job kind of holding them off. Daps making the rotation as well. A couple of big kills. Gets the hat trick, in fact, on the round with Omen. So good response from Energy and what could have been a very chaotic moment when that transition took place through the vents, but not gonna really come into play there for Kudos the way they had hoped, as they're now down 0-2 and still can't really go for the buy. will just have to be on the Sheriffs. They put an investment in that previous round that didn't pay off. They've also not been able to get a spike plant in that last round either. So, again, we'll just have to sit back on the pistols and give Energy a great opportunity to go ahead and get the big 3-0 start.
Behind me.
It has been a convincing start to our third map, maybe proving points to themselves as opposed to anyone else. It's a point that we raised before where a massive underdog team, even to win a map, is a minor victory. And obviously they want the whole thing. They want to have the whole cake and eat it, indeed. As Daps is forced back EU with a crossfire. Hera is the only player on Kudos that's really stepped up and landed anything, and it's a Sheriff one-tap. Annulling some of those plays and looking to exploit that momentary weakness, which has now been filled in by 2 more of the defenders. And Daps with the spray is merciless. NRG off to a peerless start.
Yeah, couldn't have really gone better for Energy as far as how things have kicked off in this half, but now we will have Kudos onto the full firepower and abilities being purchased, so they'll be able to put their best foot forward here. Again, mid control is a very big part of the game. Usually the Omen for the attacking side will be smoking off that ropes position to allow them to gain access to middle and start putting pressure on Male, or even take vents for themselves to pressure A Heaven for different types of site splits. A plays across ramps are also quite common. There are some B burst options available with Breach's flashes as well as Sage's wall, which we saw in the pistol round already. We see Kohler getting real aggro there with the showstopper early. Not going to hit his mark, though, so unfortunately that ult will not have any impacts. In the meantime, we do see that mid-control I was speaking of taking place here from Kudos. Again, Cypher will often be used as a lurk player on the A side of the map to gain information with his cams.
Breach flash is good, but so is Kohler's spray.
Oh, wow.
And the Vandal goes in and rips in for a third headshot.
That's
now, we
disheartening.
said that second map, he was slow, but my God, has he woken up.
Yeah, I mean, him playing that role on B Heaven and just in mid in general is going to be a big way that the pace of this half will be dictated. Again, a lot of teams will defensively kind of give up middle. They won't really play anyone inside those vents or ropes, and they really will kind of be playing that double B Heaven setup. And so essentially, with that, Kohler's going to be called on a lot to make plays like that. And so the fact that he stepped up to the plate right away with a really big round there is great news for NRG, who, again, Tournament Life on the line for them. And while it's sustained for Kudos, I think the pressure's a bit higher for Energy. The stakes are higher.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Kudos lose this. Oh, it's to be expected. If NRG lose this, as you said, the amount of money that's been spent... Yep. Yeah, pretty much. Only 4 kills in 4 rounds. Pretty grim. Teddy, the player that we've been really, well, just going crazy over how good he's been. He's not even got an assist. He's been eerily quiet.
Yeah. Still early days, so they've only had 1 full buy. They kind of went for something a little bit more heavy-handed in round 2 that didn't pay off, so they've had to be a little bit more thrifty, I guess the game would say, as we are going to see Zebro using the slow to kind of make sure that no pushes take place. You'll probably see Sage doing that a lot as a B lurk, just kind of making sure that no one's pushing through B and getting intel by using the slowers to discourage any type of aggressive movements in that direction while the rest of the team takes mid control. And indeed, they're going to be doing that again here with the pistols. They do have the blades out on Hera. That's going to be their main hope of finding openings.
Hasn't had a great success rate, though, when it comes to the Blade Storm. This time around, will make it stick.
Oh, wow.
Lands it. That flashbang could not have been better placed. It landed in the eyes of 3 players, but Daps also takes a little bit of utility on his own side. 2v2. Kudos not really with much into this round in terms of finances. May be able to stick this yet, or perhaps not. Som straight through the rafters, catching them both off guard. Successful defuse comes in, 5-0 start, but that was pretty damn close.
That's a cool plant. You don't really see that location being used for a spike plant, but the slow orb gave the confidence that they could plant in that spot and then kind of use it to really see it from a lot of places, whether that be the rafters, whether that be pushing into defending spawn. So I'm kind of curious if that'll come into play later on or not. Don't really see that too often. Back to the full buy will be Kudos on max loss bonus and a spike plant. So we'll be able to afford pretty much all that they can hope for. But now they need to get rolling. This is the round I feel like they need to win before they let the energy momentum spiral out of control. And they're going to be going for something heavy-handed at A right off the rip. They're going to probably try to smoke their way into an A ramps press and try to put that pressure on A Heaven.
Well, the pressure is certainly being applied, looking to put NRG to the swords. But they may very well fall on it if they're not careful. Exceed and Som both getting kills, and, well, the yike says it all, doesn't it? Although Teddy, actually, he's not too interested in this. He's still in this round. The tailwind used perfectly to get Som the hell out of trouble. And now goes back in for more. Third kill of the round, leaving Teddy, who's already posted up some serious entry frags, to walk into the crosshair, but actually Som misses.
That was so close.
That puts it down to Daps. Teddy moving up to retrieve the spike. No idea as to where Daps is residing, is waiting. Now, with each second that this passes, Daps may assume that this is a rotation back over onto the B side of the map. He still has the cross towards the site. This all just comes down to patience. Who holds their nerve longer? Obviously, it will favor Daps in this situation because Teddy knows he still has to plant the spike. He knows he has to make a move. And this patience from Daps is so huge. He is moving in into the crosshair. He gets spotted and Daps takes his head off. Well played.
Yeah, definitely amazing for Daps to hold his nerve. He was basically just saying, look, if you come A, I've got you dead to rights. If I have to rotate over in the 1v1 on B, so be it. But I'm not going to, you know, play haphazardly or play halfway. I'm just going to pick one side and hold it. And that's what he did. And he gets benefited for that choice. Big round there from him. That was a lot closer than I thought it would be. I felt like Energy's initial defense on that take was so very good, only for it to get into like a really tense 2-on-2 in the end. So that was a little bit shocking, but Energy do find their footing to now jump up to a 6-0 lead. And now they're looking to challenge mid with Sans Operator. But it is going to be that A ramp take coming in from Kudos, but this is not really the bulk of the attack. In fact, I think their goal here is to actually try to get into vents and pressure mid that way and try to split this B side. The problem is, look at this aggression from Energy at middle with their own Omen. It's going to be Daps.
Off your feet!
Yeah, so much information that gets gathered in amongst all of that. Here comes the Rolling Thunder. Here comes the push.
Oh, no.
Getting caught on the tripwire. And dazed and confused is Jonah, but Hera still comes out ahead in the trades. Blade Storm has been picked up on Som, who still has the operator at his disposal. Cola straight through with an entry back in towards the rafters. And Teddy planting the spike elsewhere. Wall goes down to perfection. The barrier living up to its name, barricading off the team from the aggression of EU, who now just needs to stay alive and let the rest of the troops deliver some much-needed support. He stands his ground, as does Cola. Zebro spins into action, flash in his face, and Dap shuts him down in the back. Another successful retake for NRG.
Yeah, I say Energy did a pretty good job stalling out that A heaven pressure from really being able to pose too much of a threat on the vents itself. And with Daps having such forward position at middle, while it did leave the B site vulnerable, they knew that it was like a one-way attack. They knew that everyone must have been coming through B main. They didn't have to worry about flanks or anything gimmicky. They could just focus their retake on the side itself. And so while Kudos found a bit of a gap to get that spike plant, unable to really handle any of that retake. And now, once again, they are having to work with very little, and they are so far down on the scoreboard. This is a much different feeling, a much different vibe than how the rest of the series has gone. This is the first time we've really seen Kudos crumble and Energy just absolutely dominate. There's been a couple of close rounds, sure, but Energy have locked them all up.
Yeah, this has been a big change of pace from what we saw in the second. Here comes Rolling Thunder again. Showstopper alongside it. It could be a massacre. It is a massacre. Will there be any survivors? Well, maybe there will. Maybe they can turn it round. Jonah's just come in with a double sheriff. I have no idea how that just happened, but yet they still stand. They still deliver. Another close round. But now Jonah's been sprayed out of existence, and Hero will follow suit. It's a nice try from Kudos, considering how many ults are up against them, but it's still 8-0 come the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that Energy got a little bit over-eager after those first couple of frags to keep pushing forward, and you might be right in saying that, but at the end of the day, they still comfortably won the round, surviving with 3 members, and they have a pretty swelling economy, so that's not going to hurt them too much. They lost those players. It's a small victory for Kudos. But they are going to have Hera on the attacking Aqua Jet, which is a lot harder to pull off, Vince. The movement and accuracy of that weapon is way higher than it used to be, so It's going to take a lot of assistance to be able to find something with this. But Hero will be able to kind of slowly creep out. That cage will eventually deploy so Hero can focus on taking a pick into heaven or to screens. And that's exactly what Hero's going to do on the A side. In the meantime, mid control being taken by some of his other teammates. Exceed, good vision of A heaven, knowing that they haven't pushed all the way up through ramps just yet. So it's kind of a stalemate for now.
Oh, Som, though, has gone on to Hera. So that aggressive AWP, as you mentioned, has now been suppressed down. Have to passively wait for the next round, which could be NRG continuing their flawless run streak of rounds.
Yeah, they already have a pretty big rotation here. They have their male defense pressing deep and having good vision of middle itself. They have the A defense, again, very well reinforced. Stats taking it further with a push into ramp for a kill. A great paranoia gives him a way to get out. Great pickup from Exceed as well. It is just damning what is happening to Kudos right now on their attacking side. They can't even really make any progress past the initial choke point now all of a sudden. They are getting absolutely destroyed, Vince. This is perhaps the most one-sided half we've seen all day, and we had some pretty big games, kind of 100 Ds to kick off the matches here in the open qualifier, so that's saying a lot.
Oh, I absolutely think this is the most one-sided, because even the I think it was 13-3 for the first map.
13-2, I think.
There were 13-2. There were 3 or 4 rounds at least that could have easily gone the way of Hot Thoughts. So, I mean, yeah, I think this is by far the most one-sided. And you look at the kill dispersal, Mislight combined, they have, what, 15 kills?
Yeah.
I mean, Daps never does that by himself.
Yeah, that's and it's Daps. I mean, no offense to the guy, but it's not even the start having to step up. But look at this from Zebra. This is interesting. I like this little wall boost attempt here. Again, because you don't see Sage so often, you don't get to see stuff like this. But it's been spotted already. They know exactly that what's in play here. They had the opening pick on the energy side already as well to boot.
Well, Hera. Fletcher straight through the Cypher cage. Has been decapitated, as will Zebro. Good flash onto Jonah. He landed 2 Sheriff kills earlier on a few rounds ago. He would have to double up on that promise. I'm not doubting the guy's skill level, but this would be a miracle play if he pulled it off. Oh, and to just make it a little bit worse, I now know exactly where you are, Chief, and you're dead.
Well, the series may have started out with a bang, with Kudos being very impressive and challenging energy to matches that were down to the wire, but it does seem like they're kind of going out with the whimper thus far, Vince, and that's a bit disappointing. I was really hoping to see the tense games continue on, but this has been a walk in the park for energy thus far here on Split. I mean, I like that Kudos were trying to bring something to the table a bit different by bringing Sage to play, which you don't see so often these days. But it really hasn't paid off.
Yeah, it feels like across the board it's not paid off either. Som missing out on his chance. Shot Tailwind out of there. Stay alive. One of the best hits that we've seen, though, from Kudos. At least gets them on the board in terms of a spike plant. And a full 10-man battle is about to ensue. And they look to lock horns. 5v5 retake. Cypher posted up close. Has now been dispatched by Cola. That applies the pressure that little bit thicker. They have to maybe peek back in again. Paranoia is good, but so is here a spray. Fletcher and Jonah joining suit, and now it's all down to EO. Picked off a crazy 1v4 clutch on the second map, but this may be asking a little bit too much of the man who was playing with what, Jet last map, I believe it was? Or was it Sova? Doesn't really matter. It's the first round to Kudos now.
You are correct. They haven't been able to finally put it on the board, but it's probably come a little bit too late, I'd imagine. I mean, this map I know is pretty defensive-sided, but not this much. This has been a really tough play here from Kudos, but at least they were able to get one round in there. If they can finish it off with another and get pistol in the second half, maybe they could build something, but they still have so much work to do. A good take, as you said, and they were able to capitalize, but it just hasn't happened often enough this half. But they'll see what they can come up with. They're going to put that pressure now towards B lobby. Again, I imagine you're going to see that Sage Wall put into play, a Jet Dash, some Breach Flashes. They're going to try to just overwhelm this player inside the site.
Oh. What a banging shot that was through the wall. Instantly revived, though, by Sage. Having a bit of impact. So early pick goes the way of NRG has been nullified and mitigated, and they look to draw away. They did lose a lot of utility, though, in the process. There,
I don't think
they
dropped Sage's barrier there on that attack, though. I think they kind of feinted it, so they still,
True.
I think, have the barrier in play to use to cover that first cross, which is where Sam's posted up with the operator. So his op won't be able to stop them crossing into sight. So there's still a very real chance Kudos can pull this side execute off.
And here it comes into play. But Som has popped the Blade Storm. And he still has the updrift. He still has more than enough teammates to work off, and they've already dealt some fatal blows. In he comes, headshots aplenty. There's another one.
Wow.
Lovely play from Som, lovely half from NRG.
That's man, that there's just like an anticlimactic feel to this game.
Switching sides.
Just the way the first two maps played out, I really thought we were in for a show. And I mean, in some ways we have been, but just not the one I thought. So props to Energy for really getting it into gear and dominating the game, but kudos. I hope that they can at least dig deep and find a way to challenge in the second half, Vince. It would be a shame to see them walk away after having such a great performance in the first two.
Oh, here is the GoPuff halftime replays. All of the main heavy-hitting moments of the first half, and let's be honest,
might as well just call it the Energy highlight reel.
Right, exactly. It was basically Kudos getting KO'd over and over again.
I think Energy sponsored this segment.
So there we have it. 11-1. NRG 2 rounds shy of securing their spot in the round of 32. And Jonah trying to hold on desperately. That's a beautiful flash, but there's no one behind it. There's no real follow-up, and NRG are starting to just steamroll over the site. Deja vu. We've been here before. The outcome typically has been bleak for Kudos. They do have 2 players left. Both of them are healthy, but a good fault line keeps them at bay. Boombot's been spotted compromising one of these 2 positions. Paranoia comes in, does deal with Som. Hira just snaps in with a headshot. Nicely done, but still has to deal with the threats of EU. And Daps through the dark cloud will just destroy him. The dark cover living up to its name. 12-1. NRG have 11 match points.
If you want to keep the dark term flowing, it would be dark times for Kudos, as they are 1 round away from being eliminated here in this open qualifier. They certainly put on a good performance on average throughout the series, but they just did not show up to play here thus far on Split, and they're running out of time to show themselves. They will, of course, buy up all that they can, some judges, some stingers. They will try to put their best effort with what they can afford, but their chances do seem well and truly grim, as they are just waiting for Energy to show some presence, as it's pretty default here to open for Energy, just getting that mid control, keeping Cypher holding intel on A, having raised lurk out in the B lobby. Pretty standard stuff here from NRG.
Some shoulder peeks from Fletcher, which does draw out a shot from Cola. But with so much time left, that information has a sell-by date. And the expiration pretty much already came in, let's be honest. Minute left on the clock.
Gathering up here as Energy over towards A side of the map, looking to put the smokes up on Heaven and likely screens, which would basically block out the site. Breach is the only person for Kudos really kind of defending here openly, and he will likely be blocked off, and they will be forced to play for a retake. Indeed, the smokes do come down. There is some counter cages put into play, but Energy able to just spill in. Jonah does get back into the site, however. A good flash, a couple of kills. Only 1,
left.
actually.
1 kill, but tons of damage. You can see that Cola only a couple of HP away from his demise, and from an early grave, an early bath. But another post plant. The trade's going in favor of Kudos, all stuck at the back of the site. And now Daps, last man standing, has been cordoned off from the Cypher cage. They're holding down on the defuse, and there's not really anything he can do about this, and he can't even make the most of it afterwards. He gets shut down. Kudos survive by the skin of their teeth, but they're still in this.
Yeah, Jonah did a great job sliding back into the site, not letting the smoke at screens take him out of the round, and he was able to come in, get a kill, and like you said, do a lot of damage, and also buy time for the rotation to set up the retake. As you also know, the Energy basically just got trapped inside the site itself. We're never really able to, get themselves into screens or fall back towards ramps to, get along with Daps, who was holding that position. They could just never really escape, and that really allowed Kudos to build a nice retake there, but they must win 10 more in a row to force that overtime. It is going to be Energy with little to work with. Great wall there, but actually whiffed the jump over it. That's big. That gives so much intel to Kudos.
Intel and kills. Hira with a Vandal. Make short work. Oh, the judge is just spamming up through Som. Hira takes another one down, and NRG only have Exceed left. Not for too much longer, though. He's gone the way of the Dodo, and Kudos have gone the way of a third round.
Yep, the judge's sentence was another round must being played by Energy. But now they will be back onto the full buy. Same could be said for Kudos, including an operator in the hands of Hira, who has definitely shown us a time or two that he's quite capable. He'll be challenged immediately here on the A side. You can see that Energy are looking to burst onto this side. As I say that, here it actually backs off to go towards B Heaven. It is well and truly just Breach playing this A side. The rotation's also quite far offense. This could be a big problem for Kudos. They don't really have a rotation set up for this type of attack.
Get out of my way.
Exactly. Almost setting up for a retake, but
Can't even escape.
Yeah, exactly. If you're setting up for a retake, you at least need to keep all 5 players alive, or at least get a 1-for-1 trade. The fact that they're now 4v5 in a post plant with Cola getting up close and damage being inflicted, Kudos have just shot themselves in the foot with a double-barreled shotgun. They've blown themselves to pieces with this decision, and they are getting punished severely. NRG victorious. It took longer than they're expecting, but they got it done on split very comfortably in the end.
Yeah, it wasn't a, walk in the park for Energy, which is I'm sure they're hoping for this early on in the open qualifier. You don't want to be, stressed out and having to break a sweat in the round of 64 if you're a big organization on Energy. But hey, at the end of the day, they got the W, which is what matters. And they did so in convincing fashion on that final map. For all the shortcomings they may have had in the opening 2 maps of the series, some rounds that were quite all over the place, that one was textbook. They didn't really let up. They seemed in control of the game the entire time. And we will have some great replays for you to sum things up. As, again, a shout out to our title sponsor here, Go Puff. If you're looking to get some deliveries, then you might want to check out Go Puff. They are the official delivery partner of Nerd Street. Use a promo code Nerd Street when you sign up, and you will get $4 off your first 4 orders. Definitely go give them a check out as they are supporting us here in this qualifier. And again, as you'll see throughout these highlights, Vince, it was, quite a solid game to kick things off on Haven. Very back and forth, very tight race. Same could really be said for Bind throughout the bulk of it. So it was a great series. Sometimes whenever you're in an open qualifier based on the seeding, you're going to get a lot of blowouts. And so the interest levels can be quite low. But honestly, I was really impressed with how Kudos came out today. And they definitely made this an exciting series to follow.
Yeah, I'll be real, man. I knew very little about Kudos coming into this, and I come out really eagerly anticipating to see what these guys are going to do in the future. The man that just lit up the scoreboard there, Teddy in particular, was a real solid heavy hitter. He had a bit of an off game in the 3rd map, but eventually did start to come through with some more frags. But he was a massive part of the sort of a cog in the machine that was Kudos. The fact is, first map was, 13-10, second was 13-11. This was anything but a clear-cut series. The last map, obviously, is a blowout, of course, but there was a way that Kudos could have won that first map as well, and this could have been a 2-0 to them. Could you have imagined the upset if that happened?
Yeah, that would have been pretty wild to see Energy step out. I mean, again, it's a kind of weird because from a brand value perspective, you expect great things from NRG. Just knowing them in other esports, knowing that the funding that's behind it, some of the names on paper are ones that are exciting coming over from Counter-Strike. But in reality, they are very unproven when it comes to Valorant. I mean, some of these guys are literally making their debut in this game. The only people who really had any experience coming into this was Kohler, because even EU was like a T1 Academy player. It wasn't as if he was competing in a lot of the big tournaments. I think he stepped in for T1 for Pop Flash. I think maybe he played one bigger size tournament when he was actually on T1 Academy. But outside of that, it's not as if he himself had a whole lot of top level experience. And Exceed is the same exact way. He's also making that transition from Counter-Strike and has only played a handful of games. And a lot of them are having to play a whole lot of new roles. Like Exceed was playing Agents. I wasn't used to seeing him play and some of the other stuff he's played in. Same could be said for Kohler, having the transition into more of a duelist role, having played more Cypher and like Omen and such when he was on Immortals alongside Asuna and Dicey, who were more the duelists on that team. So I think there's still a lot of moving parts in this Energy team. A lot of growing pains still going on, probably transitioning from Counter-Strike, where a lot of the fundamentals may be the same on like mechanics and crossfires and maybe some basic map control strategy, but there's still a lot to learn when it comes to agent abilities, compositions and synergy. And so I think that, they probably still have a lot of growing to do as a team, but at least they got the job done to move on in this bracket.
I think you've wrapped that up very well, Dust. I believe that we'll have a package here just letting you guys know when the next games will be coming up tomorrow and giving you a rough idea of the scheduling that'll be taking place. Because obviously this is only day one. There are tons more games on the line, tons more coming up. And obviously 16 teams will qualify to the First Strike tournament, which is going to be a huge step forward for their careers. And so here we go. Day one, obviously this is rounding off here. But day 2 is tomorrow. That's going to be the round of 32 and round of 16. Same time start as today. And then obviously for the rest of the week, it will be very much the same.
Yeah, indeed. This will actually be Vince and I done for the Open Qualifiers as commentators. We had a fantastic group of talent. A lot of them will be familiar faces if you followed some of the other events that have been going on in the Valorant over the last few months. Definitely a very great crew of people we have working with us here for the Nerd Street Gamers while we bring you through this first set of qualifiers for First Strike for the North American region. Hopefully Vince and I might be back, though, for some of the closed qualifiers and some other stuff. We're definitely hoping that we can do more. We've really enjoyed coming in. We really thank all of you in the Valorant community who've kind of embraced us so early on to give us some support and to tune in. And yeah, hopefully you'll see more of us in the future. If you enjoyed it, follow us up. We're open to feedback as well, whether that be on the competitive Valorant Reddit or whether that be on social media. We're still learning. We're still have a lot, I think, to learn. But we prepared as hard as we could, and we came out here and gave our best. And hopefully you folks enjoyed it. And we got some good games at the very least, no matter what, right? I mean, we got to see a 100 Thieves debut, which is a hell of a lot of fun. We got to see a close series there between, Energy and Kudos. And so I think all in all, today was a lot of fun. And a lot of you showed up to support, and that's awesome. It's great to see those types of numbers show up for an open qualifier for First Strike. And hopefully that will continue to build over time. And yeah, that's going to do it. Vince, any final thoughts as we sign off for the day?
It's been a blast, a pleasure as always. Thank you very much for having us, guys. But for us, for now, peace. Enjoy the rest of the action, guys, starting tomorrow.